in Brussels against Union Saint-Gilloise. Just describe to us where you are, Razor, because you're not actually at the home ground of the club that Newcastle United are playing against.
No, the stadium that they would normally play home matches at doesn't meet UEFA requirements, so they can't play there for European games. So what they've done is they've had to move across Brussels, from the southern part of the city to the western side, to the home of Anderlecht, to the stadium called Lotto Park, and that is much bigger. It holds about 22,000 spectators. Union SG's stadium, by comparison, is too small, 9,400. So, and this is all Cita as well, and used to staging big games because Anderlecht are probably the biggest club in Belgium, perhaps the best known. So it's slightly unusual for them to have a home fixture, their first Champions League home fixture, but for it not to be played at their own stadium. This is their debut in the competition after winning the Belgian title last season, but they are a club with European experience, and more than Newcastle in recent years, Colin, because they've been in the Europa League and in the Conference League in the 3 seasons prior to this one. So yeah, they know their way around UEFA competitions, but the Champions League is new to them, and it's an interesting dynamic that, you know, they've got their supporters here in the Union Saint-Gilloise yellow and blue. They are scattered around the stadium. I don't think it's going to be full. It certainly isn't full at the moment. Newcastle fans are filing in black and white to my right hand side as I speak, but yeah, they have home advantage, but not quite home advantage, if I can put it like that.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing. I think if we're honest, most of us hadn't really heard of Union Saint-Gilloise before Newcastle United were drawn against them.
No.
Yet their opening game, when they were such comfortable winners against the team, and I've forgotten who they beat in their opening game. PSV, that's who it was. I knew it was another team that Newcastle were going to come up against.
Yeah.
Might just have opened a few people's eyes.
Yeah, you could say that, but then you look at the result of other Dutch sides in the Champions League. I mean, Ajax went to Marseille last night and were absolutely battered.
Yeah.
You know, I think, if I'm right in saying, Ajax got beaten in their first game as well. So the standard of Dutch football doesn't seem to be where it was. So I'm not too sure how much you can read into that, but I suppose going away from home in the Champions League and winning so comfortably, you know, they have to be respected. And you look at the league table in the Belgian league, they're unbeaten this season. They've got maximum points, so they're obviously a decent side. They've got something about them, but how strong do you hold Belgian football? I suppose that is the question. How strong is that Belgian league?
Well,
they are the best that Belgium has to offer,
yeah.
Colin. Yeah, they are the best from last season. Also this season, top of the table. They are an interesting club because there's links to English football with Tony Bloom, who is the owner and chairman of Brighton. He bought them 7 years ago, got them promoted, and then a couple of years ago when Union SG were in the Europa League, Brighton also qualified. He had to reduce his shareholding in order to comply with UEFA's multi-club ownership rules, but they're clearly well run. They're clearly a club that is on the up and wants to stay at the top of Belgian football and compete in Europe regularly. And in terms of a couple of players, there are one or two really interesting cases and one or two interesting stories. Firstly, Ross Sykes, a defender who's on the bench. He is from Lancashire. He's a Burnley boy, but he's a Newcastle United fan. Picked Newcastle as his team when he was young. He was brought to Belgium from Accrington Stanley, having been playing in League One, and has been around and playing a part in their success for the last 3 years. When Newcastle were in Dortmund 2 years ago in the Champions League, he was in the stands as a spectator, as a supporter, and he's on the bench tonight. So whatever happens, a bit like Andy Cook with Bradford in the League Cup last week, you just hope that he gets on and gets the opportunity. They also have a player, their captain, Christian Burgess, who started his career at Middlesbrough, had a loan spell at Hartlepool in the lower leagues, and has made more than 200 appearances now for Union SG since joining from Portsmouth 5 years ago. And their goalkeeper, I want to tell you about, who's playing tonight, Kjell Scherpen, who is a big boy, 6'8", and he played for Brighton alongside Dan Burn on his only Brighton appearance. So a couple of interesting facts about some of the players in the Belgians' side tonight.
Well, I want to see them stand next to each other, because according to a well-known internet encyclopedia, he's 6'9", 2 meters 6 centimeters. I mean, that's, you then expect your goalkeeper to dominate, Ando. That's because
tell you what, it's a long way down though.
Yeah.
It's a long way down to the ground. Okay, in the air, but anything on the ground, he's got a long way to go. You know, so you would expect him to dominate in the air, but we'll find out soon enough whether he can or not.
Yeah, there's a good Scottish name there.
The thing about Belgian football is as well, you know, back in the when Alex Ferguson was at Manchester United, he sent a lot of the younger boys to play in Belgian football. John O'Shea. Yeah, Antwerp was where Antwerp was a side that he used a lot. So, you know, that's whether you read on the internet or not, I don't know. But look, you know, they obviously had a great season last season. They're going very, very well this season. But I mean, don't know a great deal about them. I mean, I suppose it says an awful lot about them when they have to play at Anderlecht because their own ground isn't up to the standard of Champions League quality to be able to play Champions League games there.
Just point that I want to make, Colin, just generally, just expanding on what Ando said there. When Newcastle returned to the Champions League 2 years ago, they got three giants: AC Milan, Borussia Dortmund, Paris Saint-Germain. They played Barcelona 2 weeks ago. So 4 of the leading clubs in Europe, the biggest and best teams anywhere. This has a different feel to it. As Ando said, the Belgian league is not one of the strongest, but you have to respect a team that are champions and are currently top of the standings domestically. But it probably has more of a feel of a Europa League fixture, with all due respect, when you compare it to what's gone before, most recently in Newcastle's very recent Champions League history and return. Even just the feel about the place, smaller scale, smaller stadium, less interest from the international media and the local media here in Brussels as well. It just feels a little bit more low-key, but it's no less important because of the defeat by Barcelona, and just generally with the way this season has gone. It's a massive game because they need to get some points on the board tonight. They've still got 6 more to play, but those games come quickly and then they'll start running out of opportunities. And last season, 11 points got Manchester City into the knockout phase playoff round, and that's the minimum Newcastle are looking to achieve. So you need 3 wins really, and hopefully they can get the first of those tonight.
Indeed. Just one more for you, Ando, on the team as we come back to the Newcastle United team before before I retreat and let you and Razor carry this right the way through to kick off, which is 17 minutes away now. Dan Burn at left back we talked about a little bit earlier on, and we'll come back to it once we see how he performs in the opening 15-20 minutes of this game. But that front three as well, Nick Voltemada now basically has to play every game. Razor kind of alluded to it earlier. He has to start now for as long as he's fit, until Yohan Wissa is fit again. There is a lot of demand on him physically and a lot of pressure on him psychologically as well. He is the focal point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got Asula there as well, but you would think Voltemada is the main man. Got through the game well at the weekend. You know, obviously didn't play the full 90 minutes, but got his goal. I thought played well. His touch was good. Brought people into the game well. And the games are coming thick and fast. It's going to be really interesting how they use him. Is he going to be there game in, game out? Is there going to be a stage where you're going to have to put some faith in Asula? We'll have to wait and see on that one.
We will indeed. Thank you very much for the moment, and John Anderson. This is time, like I say, for me to pull back from this and let Matthew Race back in Brussels and John Anderson in the dry warmth of this BBC Radio Newcastle studio take you through the rest of the build-up. 15 minutes away from kick-off, then Newcastle United away to Union Saint-Gilloise in the Champions League. It's all Razor and Ando after this.
Anna Foster, weekday mornings from 10.
Dropped the dog lead. There was desperation. I phoned home to get help, to get them to come and pick me up. They couldn't. They were having tea. There was only one thing for it. Use the brassiere as a dog lead. That was perfect. Stretchy, for puppies of a different kind. Not embarrassed or shy to say that you can double use things like that. Pants as scrunchies. There isn't a woman out there that hasn't used a pair of pants as a scrunchie for a shower.
I haven't.
Have you never? You've never used a pair of pants as a scrunchie?
No.
Oh God, what's wrong with me?
Anna Foster, weekday mornings from 10.
Just ask your smart speaker to play BBC Radio Newcastle. Total Sport Northeast.
The Champions League. Matthew Raisbeck and John Anderson.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
And good evening to you again from Lotto Park in Brussels, the Belgian capital, the venue for tonight's Champions League encounter between Union Saint-Gilloise and Newcastle United. Their second match in the competition this season as they look for their first points in the new league phase. The first time that United have played in the Champions League since the format was changed. It's always been the group stages in the past. Now it is a 36 club league, and you would think the chances of getting through increase. The number of matches they play has certainly increased from 6 to 8, but after losing to Barcelona they've got to start picking up points. Ando, you would say, wouldn't you, that when you look at who else they have to travel to, that's Marseille, Bayer Leverkusen and Paris Saint-Germain in the final round of matches in January, that this is the most favourable looking away fixture that Newcastle have, isn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. You know, I think when the fixtures came out, Razor, you looked at this one and you thought, yeah, big opportunity to go away from home and get points on the board. You know, as well as Union did last season, as well as they're doing this season. And to their credit, they've had a good start in the Champions League by going to PSV and winning. You'd have to say we've got to start big favourites to win tonight.
It's sunset in Brussels. We are an hour ahead on Central European time, so it is just after 6:30 in Belgium. The spotlights are on top of the roof on the stand on the far side, and Union SG play in yellow and blue, but the rest of this stadium is in the purple and white colours of Anderlecht, who normally play their home matches here, save for a small section of the end behind the goal to my right hand side, which is where the Newcastle United supporters are. They have the lower tier and the upper tier, half of that stand behind the goal. The players have gone back inside after completing their warm-ups. There are sprinklers on the pitch, some ground staff and some camera operators nearby, and we're commentating to you from the back of the main stand behind the two benches. Newcastle United, 2 changes. Kieran Trippier and Anthony Elanga come in for Tino Livramento and Jacob Murphy, and it looks as though Livramento's knee injury is not as serious as first feared. He's expected to be out for between 6 to 8 weeks, which is very good news given the concern when he was taken off on a stretcher against Arsenal on Sunday. So the team is Pope, Trippier, Chow, Botman, Byrne, Bruno Tonali, Joelinton, Elanga, Gordon and Voltemada. And Dan Burn at left back again. Ando, we've discussed, and it's something that we're still a little bit surprised about, but the rest of the team is certainly very strong, isn't it? What do you make of the Elanga inclusion ahead of Murphy or Barnes? That's the one of the 2 changes that we haven't really gone into detail about yet.
Yeah, I mean, you watched Elanga against Barcelona in that first game in the Champions League, especially in that first half. His pace is electric, you know, and I think with both him and Gordon, I think that's going to be applied tonight to use the pace that they've got. Hopefully Union will come on to us quite a bit. They will press people forward, they get people into advanced positions, and we'll look to break using the pace of those two. I mean, Elanga's been a stop-start sort of introduction for him, hasn't it? You know, he's been in, he's been out, he's been back in, then he's been out again. You know, so tonight's another opportunity for him. We know that the pace he's got is absolutely electric, and hopefully we'll be able to take advantage of that tonight.
On the bench for Newcastle, 2 goalkeepers, Aaron Ramsdale and Max Thompson, Lewis Hall, Fabian Schär, Harvey Barnes, Emil Kraft, William Osula, Jacob Murphy, Joe Willock, Alex Murphy and Lewis Miley. Now, Newcastle's only win in the Champions League 2 seasons ago was at St James's, the unforgettable 4-1 success over PSG. Away from home it's been a bit different for them, and actually a bit different longer term when they've played in Europe, albeit they haven't competed in European competition too many times in the last couple of decades. The record books show that it's only 1 win in their last 11 away matches in Europe, but they did draw 2 of their 3 games on the continent 2 years ago.
The away games that we experienced, I think, made us a better team to go back to the Premier League with. Milan, Dortmund and Paris. I mean, you don't get much harder in European competition, but I think in all of those games we were really competitive again, and I think we took that back into our domestic form and grew from it, even though they weren't wins. I think now we're judged slightly differently. I think the expectation's slightly different, and I think this will be a good challenge for us at a time in the season where we know we need to perform.
And they were big matches, tough matches, but they learnt a lot from what they experienced 2 years ago, and they've applied some of that, Ando, to this season, haven't they, by travelling early yesterday, training on the pitch in Belgium, which they didn't do in Milan, a match they ended up drawing 0-0, and in Dortmund where they were beaten. They're also helped, aren't they, by the fact that, like 2 years ago, their away games are only a couple of hours away from Newcastle. The team flies direct. They don't have to go to the outer reaches of Europe. They don't have to go to Kazakhstan like Real Madrid did yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate what we've got, you know, not too much travelling involved. Eddie Howe will be delighted with that as well. I mean, as you say, after this one we go to Marseille, Leverkusen and PSG. So it could have been an awful lot worse from a travelling point of view. But look, tonight it's just a skip across the water, isn't it? You know, so hopefully we can get this campaign up and running. It was always going to be difficult against Barcelona. You know, I thought we gave it a right go in the first half. I thought second half Barcelona controlled the game because they just kept the ball and moved us from side to side. And you know, when we got the ball, we didn't keep it well enough. So I don't expect Union to be anywhere near the same type of quality as what Barcelona were, so it's an opportunity for us to get up and running in this competition.
But they are the Belgian champions.
Yeah.
They made a great start to the new season as well, unbeaten in their league, top of the table, 6 points clear, 7 wins, 2 draws from 9 matches. Those are the stats domestically. Eddie Howe knows that they are, despite not being one of the bigger names in Europe, a strong side.
Yeah, we certainly don't underestimate anybody, and I think that comes down to fundamentally our reviewing of our opponents, which I'll do personally, as I always do, and it's a case of judging strengths and weaknesses and then figuring out a way to try and be competitive in the game and ultimately win. But I think for any team to be at this level and to be top of their league and playing in the way that they are, demand respect. Full credit to everyone connected with the club, because it's been a dramatic rise and sustained success. It's not been just one season. They were knocking on the door to win the league, then they've won the league, and now deservedly in the Champions League. So no, we'll be fully focused and fully ready.
But they're not playing at their home ground because it doesn't meet the UEFA requirements for European competition. So we are across Brussels at Lotto Park, the home of Anderlecht.
There'll still be a very home-based crowd. I'm sure they'll be very supportive to them. So I don't see a lot really that changes from a normal away game for us. We'll have our following with us, and I'm sure they'll be amazing as they always are. And I think it's up to us to get them involved in the game.
Well, thousands of Geordies have turned Brussels black and white over the last couple of days. Those lucky enough to have tickets are in position now to the right-hand side. Many travelled over without a ticket for the game. That tends to happen on the European trips. It's important for supporters sometimes just to make the journey, to be with other Geordies, other Newcastle fans, and sample these big European occasions. Watching, I'm sure, from the city centre, from the Irish bar that was designated as an away fan pub in one of the squares in Brussels. And with it being an early kick-off, they'll all be able to meet up again tonight after the match has finished. We are awaiting the arrival of the two teams. Let's have a look at how Union Saint-Gilloise line up. In goal, Kjell Scherpen. Then at the back, Kevin McAllister, the brother of Alexis McAllister from Liverpool. Christian Burgess, the former Middlesbrough and Hartlepool player, he's the captain. And Fede Lezen is the left-sided defender. It's a 3-4-3 for the Belgians tonight. On the right-hand side, Anan Kalaili. In the middle, Adem Zorgan and Camille van der Peer. And on the left, Ousseynou Niang, with Anwar 8 El Hajj in the number 10 role, just playing behind Kevin Rodriguez and the Canadian international Promise David, who's got 5 goals in 9 matches this season and got their first goal in their win over PSV in their opening match, their Champions League debut. Here are the two teams in Brussels, Union Saint-Gilloise, and for the first time away from home this season in the Champions League, Newcastle United. Champions League theme, that iconic music, never fails to move you, does it? Real sense of pride among the away supporters, belting out the last line, the champions, as the music came to an end and the players from both teams shake hands and high five on the halfway line. The Champions League black and white starred football flag is removed from the centre circle. There is UEFA Champions League branding with club crests still on the pitch, and the teams now going to pose for pre-match photographs. Newcastle in black and white stripes, white shorts and socks, Pope in light blue, and Union Saint-Gilloise, their home colours. Yellow shirts with navy across the neck, shoulders and sleeves, navy shorts and yellow socks, and goalkeeper Scherpen in green. Atmosphere's pretty good. The stadium has filled up a little bit. It is not full to capacity, but it's only 3 miles away from where Union SG normally play. They don't get huge crowds because they can't get them in, basically, in their home stadium, but those that are here generating a big atmosphere. And it is, John Anderson, a huge night for Newcastle United because they want to get their Champions League campaign up and running. We've talked so often about how important it is to be here from a club profile point of view, financially, what the Champions League is worth. They made around 30 million 2 seasons ago. They've already made 16 million this season just for qualifying. But they're not here to make up the numbers. They want to get through and want to succeed on the football pitch as well as have the financial boost. Yeah, look, it's not just about kickstarting your Champions League, Razor. It's about kickstarting your season. You know, we said at the weekend it was an opportunity for us to go and kickstart the season against Arsenal. And that didn't work out. We thought that Bradford would have been a confidence boost, scoring those 4 goals. Went ahead against Arsenal and then gave 2 poor goals away from a defensive point of view because they're set piece goals, especially with the height that we have in the side. So it's not just about kickstarting the Champions League campaign, it's about kickstarting our season. We're almost ready to go with you on BBC Radio Newcastle in the Champions League. Newcastle United Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali ready to get the match underway. Newcastle's second in the Champions League this season, beaten by Barcelona, now in Belgium. Their 18th European campaign. This is their 142nd European match. They are shooting towards the goal to the right and have gone on the attack up this near side, the right wing. Bruno wanted a free kick. It's cleared by Union Saint-Gilloise, and Kieran Trippier in possession. Up the line to Anthony Elanga, laid off to Bruno, swept up to Voltemade, edge of the area, gets dispossessed. And now the opportunity for the home side to clear, helped on by the striker Promise David, but Sven Botman gets to the ball, comes away with it. Might have been foul, but the referee allows play to continue. And the referee tonight is Urs Schneider, who's from Switzerland, a regular in UEFA competitions. All the officials are Swiss, and I don't think this happens very often. The assistant referees are identical twins, and one of them on the far side has to put his flag up and award a free kick, alert the referee to blow the whistle, because Joelinton clumsily has committed a foul in the corner on the far side. Newcastle's left and about in line with the penalty spot, the edge of the penalty area. After a minute and a half, they have a free kick to defend.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about identical twins. I wonder if they'll make identical mistakes, Razor.
Well, Joelinton with a typical Joelinton challenge out on the far side, and a free kick is about to be delivered. It's rolled back, and now the cross comes in, left-footed from the right. Kieran Trippier tries to head clear. It's outside the penalty area. Elanga makes a challenge, headed on by Union SG, then Botman to Trippier and lifted away, but out on this near side. Home supporters making plenty of noise and enjoying these early periods of pressure, but 0-0 as the ball is thrown back in towards Burgess on halfway. His dark hair in a ponytail, back it goes to the giant goalkeeper Sherpen, and out to Burgess again. Left-footed chip into the United half. Trippier on his chest, it's given away, then a through ball that Pope comes to the edge of the area to pick up, and a chance to calm things down. Overarm throw out to the left to Dan Burn, who is at full-back in a 4. Joelinton wide to Gordon, just kept in, and although he slipped, Anthony Gordon has been able to win a throw for Newcastle. A reminder, it's Pope, Trippier, Chow, Botman, Burn, Bruno Tonali, Joelinton, Elanga, Gordon, Voltemade through the middle.
Yeah, it's been a messy start, hasn't it, from both sides, Razor?
Voltemade's got it in an attacking position, rolled inside to Gordon, but it was just away from him, too close to the defender, and now cleared straight to Kieran Trippier. United trying to stay on the attack. Bruno out to Elanga on the touchline, inside to Bruno, edge of the penalty area. Tonali, good first touch. Bruno in the box, laid off. Elanga shot blocked. He might get another chance. Union SG can't get it clear. Now they win it properly, and away it goes. Chow helps it back to Tonali, appeals for a foul, nothing given. And despite the protests from the home side, and Newcastle in possession with Dan Burn in his own half, on to Joelinton, holding off his man. Tonali tries to carry it forwards, it's blocked. Burn to Gordon, and out for a Newcastle United throw. Gordon takes a quick one into Voltemade, up onto his chest, but then dispossessed. And Anwar 8 El Hadj with a forward pass. Botman is there, plenty of space. Union Saint-Gilloise 0, Newcastle United 0 in the 5th minute, Ando.
Yeah, it's all very sloppy, isn't it? Neither side really able to get hold of it and keep it. A little bit hectic at the moment. The game hasn't really settled down yet.
It's going to be a corner kick to the hosts. Botman and Burn complain to the assistant referee. However, it is a decision that goes against Newcastle United, so they are back to defend once again. everybody in black and white in the box. They've got Van der Peer on the corner of the penalty area if they want to go short. One other outside the box, everybody else in the corners towards the penalty spot, headed towards goal, then headed over near to the post. Got up well. It's the striker Kevin Rodriguez, the Ecuadorian international, one of the two big lads up front, along with Promise David, the Canadian, and he climbed well enough, but the header wasn't coming down in time.
Yeah, it's half a chance, isn't it? He's always leaning backwards though. Difficult to direct it on goal. Just couldn't keep the ball down and it's flowing over the top.
Newcastle go long with their goal kick from Pope through the middle towards Joelinton, but Newcastle are without it again, and then it's into the penalty area, a header back to Pope by Bruno. Just need to try and calm things down a little bit. It's a vibrant home stadium and home crowd, everything you'd expect from an away match on the continent. And they look long from Pope for Voltemada and Gordon on the left. It's lifted clear, Joelinton in midfield, header backwards, Bruno stabs it on, Voltemada brilliantly laid off to Trippier, and it's found its way towards Elanga, and it's a Newcastle throw despite Elanga wanting a free kick when the challenge came in from Ousseynou Niang. Not shoulder to shoulder with him, but last touch was off a yellow and blue shirt. Trippier 30 yards out, angled throw to Elanga, takes a touch, he's dispossessed, Tonali's won it back, Joelinton controls, Voltemada tried to take it on the half turn, but it's cleared as far as Trippier. Now Tonali and Elanga's gone down, but Tonali finds Bruno, 1-2 with Joelinton, back into the middle from Bruno, and attempted clearance that's gone backwards and has to be punched by the Union SG goalkeeper. It's a bit messy, not the most convincing defending, and Newcastle staying on the attack with Anthony Gordon in the centre, 30 yards out. Trippier looking for Voltemada with the cross, it's too long. Gordon goes to retrieve it and gets there in the corner on the left and wins a throw.
Yeah, it's not the greatest goalkeeping in the world, is it? 6'9", whatever he is. You'd expect somebody of that height to just come and grab that. He decides to punch it and he keeps his side under pressure. I mean, it was an easy take for him, but like a lot of European keepers, he decided to punch and got away with it.
Away fans finding their voice behind the goal, watching on as Big Dan Burn lobs a long throw to the near post. It's a Union SG header, and now Rodriguez, the striker. Joelinton's down in the box, and the referee Schneider has stopped the match. Possibility of a head injury. He went up in the challenge there when the long throw came in, and although Newcastle didn't win the ball, Joelinton was close and got caught in the act of challenging for it. He's okay without treatment, and the match will be able to resume in a moment. It's 0-0 in Brussels. And throw up the far touchline. Byrne flicks it back towards halfway. Trippier forwards onto Bruno, just inside the attacking half of the pitch. Byrne's got time, goes on the outside to Gordon, inside to Bruno, back to Gordon. That's nicely worked. Gordon carries on his run, and when the challenge came in, the referee was giving himself a moment to see if it was going to run for an advantage. It didn't, and it's brought back for a Newcastle United free kick, left of centre, just past the halfway line. 0-0.
Yeah, good refereeing, wasn't it? He just waited to see if the advantage was there. It wasn't, so he pulled it back.
9 minutes played. Trippier to Chow, and Botman misses out. Chow comes back to Trippier just behind halfway, up the line. Elanga is quick, but not quick enough to get on the end of that, though he applauds Trippier for the pass forwards in behind, but a goal kick. And they've got two defenders in the box, one of them Burgess, is going to take it. I mentioned him earlier, formerly of Middlesbrough and Hartlepool, and the Newcastle fan Ross Sykes is one of Union Saint-Gilloise substitutes this evening, hoping to get on at some stage. Chow wins a header, Tanali mops up, finds Joelinton, and Dan Burn takes it away into space, far side of the pitch. Tanali comes to get it short, straight back to Burn, then Botman on the edge of the penalty area, up to Bruno, faced up by Adem Zorgan, the Algerian in midfield for the Belgian side, as United work it up to halfway, and it's neatly done, as we're now getting used to seeing from Voltemada. Tidy play, holding it up, and now a pass from left to right over to Trippier. Elanga inside to Tanali. This is what we want to see from Newcastle, controlling possession, moving the ball, quietening the crowd. Joelinton looking for Bruno, they've lost it though, and after Joelinton's pass was misplaced, Bruno has committed a foul just ahead of halfway.
Yeah, kept it well, didn't they? Just trying to frustrate, trying to drag your opponents onto you, looking for that gap to open up.
Botman for Tanali, Burn, Joelinton. It's one-touch Newcastle football. Gordon then on the spin tried to whip one round for Voltemada in the middle, but it got away from the big German. And now Dan Burn wins it back, stepping up to halfway, on to Voltemada, and a foul from behind by a sliding Burgess. Whistle's gone for another Newcastle United free kick. This one is about 35 yards from the goal, and they are sending Botman, Burn and Chow up from the back. Tanali preparing to take it as Trippier holds his position next to the centre circle. Jason Tindall off the bench, and pointing players into the correct position. They are on the edge of the penalty area. Gordon is wide left if they want to play a short pass along the floor and get it into the wings. Otherwise, Tanali might just stick it in there, which he does. It's helped on. It's a corner. It's off at Union SG head. Newcastle United with another set piece. This time Tanali's having to come out to the near right hand side, next to the away supporters, and those who weren't on their feet are now on their feet to serenade the Italian, who grabs the ball and has support short from Elanga. Union SG have left one player up in attack and brought everybody else back. Tanali, an out-swinging corner kick flat and cleared away immediately by the first defender. Elanga back to Tanali, then Elanga gets it again, got the chance to cross. Elanga gives it to Tanali, who whips in one first time. Keeper's punched it, and Joelinton took it down, but then the shot, which he had to release quickly, is over the top with Sherpen scrambling and trying to get back on his line.
Yeah, not too convinced about this goalkeeper. I mean, it's another one where you think a British keeper would come and just collect that. He decides to punch again, but it's a poor punch. He punches it down into the ground.
Newcastle playing it well. They've won it back from the goal kick. Tanali, Bruno, Gordon all involved. Then a pass up to the edge of the area for Voltemada. Can't get him into the game, but it's with Trippier now, and a switch from right to left to big Dan Burn. Brought under control, and forwards they go with Gordon, who beats one but not the second defender, and it's slammed out of play into the lower section of the stand on the far side. Dan Burns got a spare ball, and I think they're going to go for another long throw. Seeing so much of this, not just at Newcastle but in the Premier League this season from many teams, long throws. And here is Burn again towards the near post area, misses everybody out, hits a defender and goes behind. So although it didn't have the intended effect of creating a chance, it has led to a corner kick, and the defender, it just hit him. Fede Lezen, the left-sided centre-back, and
just didn't react to it, Razor, did he?
Far side.
Yeah, he just didn't react to it, just came to him quick,
15th minute, BBC Radio Newcastle in the Champions League. Tonali seems to be the set piece taker tonight. Byrne and Voltemade next to the goalkeeper. Tonali drops it into the 6-yard box. It goes behind again for another corner. There you have 6'6", 6'7", and depending on which source you use, 6'8" or 6'9" for the keeper. Yeah, three giants, and they're together again as Tonali prepares Ando to deliver another corner. See if he can pick someone out in black and white this time. No, headed clear by Anan Kalaili, the Union SG winger. It's a Newcastle throw, though, to the surprise of some of the home supporters. But I think what we're seeing now, Ando, is Newcastle starting to have some control and influence over this game. They've had a lot of the ball in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, the control and the tempo of the game, aren't they? Passing the ball well enough. All we need now is that final ball, isn't it, in those areas. We need to get the ball into the final third of the pitch and cause them more problems.
Voltemade received it and was fouled after holding it up. Free kick in the middle of the park. Elanga, space for the cross. It's a good one, but Voltemade just couldn't get there. Tonali, follow up, it's in. Sandro Tonali, it took a big deflection, but the Italian celebrates and gets the congratulations as Newcastle United take the lead in Brussels. Elanga, was a good ball in towards Voltemade, headed clear. On the follow-up, Sandro Tonali, and in the 17th minute, it's Union Saint-Gilloise 0, Newcastle United 1.
Yeah, I was just saying you need to get that ball into the final third, and that's exactly what's happened. It's a decent ball in by Elanga. He just whips it in there. Decent enough header as well. It's Voltemade who gets the goal. It's a great flick, actually, Razor, when you see it again. Just totally wrong foots the goalkeeper. Tonali coming onto it, or does it come off the defender? I'm not too sure. It's one. At first it looked like Voltemade had flicked it, but in second looks may well have come off the defender. But either way, ball's ended up in the back of the net and 1-0. They've been the better side in this opening 17 minutes as well. They've had more of the ball. Hopefully they can go on and get another couple now.
Felt like the goal was coming, and it has arrived, and Elanga's got it back now, and they're looking for a quick second. Voltemade to Gordon. There are bodies back, but black and white shirts getting forward. Gordon beats one, inside to Voltemade. Bruno can have it, laid off to Tonali. Does he fancy another? Wide right to Bruno. Trippier in support as well, close to the touchline, gets it onto Elanga, but just ahead of Elanga, and that's a goal kick. It's a shame that what looked like a promising break amounts to nothing in the end. Newcastle United 1-0 up in Belgium. Now, I'm in the stadium in Brussels. John Anderson's back in the BBC Radio Newcastle studio, which is not our usual setup. We are normally both together when we bring you commentary on every Newcastle match. But interestingly, Ando, you have a television screen with replays and I don't. So for anything like that, I'm relying on you seeing the close-ups and the replays.
I've only seen it once, Razor. I need to see it again.
It's like you've got VAR and I haven't.
Well, VAR usually get it wrong, don't they? So it looked like Voltemade flicked it, but there's a defender directly behind him, so it's one I need to see again.
Well, the match delegates from UEFA have given it to Tonali, but we will review it. The main thing is it's Newcastle's goal, 1-0 ahead, and they could really strengthen their grip on this match in the first half. A good opening 20 minutes. Bruno with a free kick to take. Eddie Howe in black training gear tonight. Jason Tindall next to him in white, standing at the edge of the technical area. Howe with his arms folded, watching the ball go back to Botman. Gordon around the defender one side, goes the other and gets taken down, and the whistle's gone for a Newcastle free kick, and they do seem very much in command. Union SG struggling to get the ball. This is where a second goal could come from. This is what they'll hope to do, press home that advantage that they already have. The Belgians made a big start on their Champions League debut, winning 3-1 in the Netherlands against PSV, but it's been different tonight. And Newcastle with Elanga, and 3 in the middle for the cross. Anthony Gordon wide at the near post, just tried to sneak it inside the post, past the goalkeeper at the near side, but too much height on the finish from Gordon, and it remains 1-0.
Yeah, good break again. Decent ball again from Elanga. He's getting plenty of space on this right side. Difficult one for Gordon. Just couldn't control it, couldn't keep it down.
Played over to the far side by Kevin Rodriguez, but intercepted by Dan Burn. Then a ball forwards is cut out by Sven Botman. Joelinton to Bruno. High tempo about Newcastle's play, full of attacking intent, trying to go forwards every time. Tonali from Trippier's pass on halfway, dispossessed, and that will be a free kick given against Trippier for tripping Ousseynou Niang, Senegalese winger, close to the near touchline. It went out for a throw. Referee had a think and awarded the free kick. To be fair, he's not given the home team much. They got a decision there, and they have a chance to attack through Niang. Goes between 2 players but isn't strong enough. Tonali and Bruno, and play on as Chow looks for Gordon through the middle. His first touch isn't what he was hoping for, and it's up into midfield. And now back with Kevin McAllister, one of their goal scorers against PSV Eindhoven 2 weeks ago. He's the right-sided of the 3 Union Saint-Gilloise centre-halves tonight. Slap bang in the centre of midfield, the Algerian Adam Zorgan. Good ball, Niang, deflected cross behind off Trippier. It hit the side netting, but it never threatened to go in. It will be a corner kick, and that's better from the home team. Met with the approval of the supporters. 22 minutes played, 1-0 Newcastle, but a corner kick to deal with now on this near left-hand side.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of them as an attacking force, have we? They've got a chance to load the box up here.
And it's about to come in from Zorgan, headed away by Tonali. He was at the back of the 6-yard box, and it's flicked behind for another corner. Newcastle have enjoyed about 2/3 of the possession so far. Tonali's goal has them in a 1-0 lead. And this is the second corner kick from the other side this time. An outswinger. It's a Newcastle header, then volleyed back in, blocked by Elanga, half cleared, and a shot, powerfully struck shot from Adam Zorgan, saved by Nick Pope in the centre of the goal, low down. First time Pope's been needed. Here they go, Bruno, got a chance Newcastle to play in Elanga. Baltimore and Gordon in the middle. Elanga's digged cross is behind, but it went behind before the defender touched it. And a goal kick, great position, but a disappointing delivery moments after Pope had made an important but comfortable save, Ando.
Yeah, it was a comfortable save. I mean, it's a decent hit, but straight at the keeper, he just palms it down. Yeah, very comfortable. And then at the other end we break. Ball from Elanga's got to be better, hasn't it? You know, he's got time, he's getting plenty of space on this right hand side, Razor. You know, they're giving them plenty of room, and that could cause them a lot of problems. They need to get tighter to him.
Well, there is now a free kick in the middle of the park. Burgess, tall, rather angular defender with a left-footed pass, and now a ball into the corner on the far side, nicely worked by Union SG. Kevin Rodriguez goes around Botman, who manages to block the cross. That was a dangerous moment. Botman got turned inside out there, but recovered well. Corner kick.
Yeah, they've had a bit more of it in the last couple of minutes, haven't they? They started slowly, but they've come to life in the last few minutes.
defending. Been a few of these corners and set pieces for Union SG. Elanga heads away, and then another shot sent back in. Adam Zorgan again, Pope down low to deal with it and palm it behind. Might have been going wide anyway, but the goalkeeper needed to make sure.
Yeah, he did. He couldn't take any chances and needed to get down and push that one round the post. But as I say, the last couple of minutes since the goal, all of a sudden they've sprung into life a little bit.
The set piece delivery's been decent. This time they meet the corner with a header over the top. Newcastle United goal kick. They have a 1-0 lead. Sandro Tonali, the scorer. The corners are coming in from Anwar 8 El Hadj, Belgian under-21 international, just playing behind the two strikers. He gets good whip on the ball, doesn't he? They tend to go into dangerous areas. Always the frustration is when they hit the first man, but most of his have been decent. This is Byrne to Bruno. His first touch took him into a problem area. Byrne then makes a challenge to stop the break. Zorgan passes it out wide right to Kalaili, the Israeli international, and now it's back to the goalkeeper Sherpen, closed down by Voltemade, edge of the box, to the left to Burgess. Slipped a little as the ball came his way, but he safely plays it back inside to his goalkeeper. Rolls the ball forwards, still going, he's outside the box. Then a long chip into the Newcastle half, headed on by Promise David, cleared by United into the central part of the pitch. Zorgan tries to chip one in behind Byrne, in between Byrne and Botman, but Sven Botman read the situation, got it away. Newcastle can't hold it, and after a period of dominance, scoring the only goal through Sandro Tonali, they've now had a couple of minutes without the ball. This is better from the home team, and Newcastle just having to defend a little and stay organised, and there they were. It's an offside from a diagonal ball. Kieran Trippier with a free kick in the right back position, and a reminder that the team is Pope, Trippier, Chow, Botman, Byrne in a back four, Bruno, Tonali, Joelinton, Elanga, Gordon wide, Voltemade through the middle. The two changes: Elanga for Jacob Murphy and Trippier for Livramento, and Cher is back on the bench after missing a few matches with a head injury. Free kick into Joelinton in the centre of midfield. Dan Byrne comes inside, then passes it out wide left to Anthony Gordon, gets away from his man to the feet of Tonali in the centre circle, over to Trippier, and Elanga up ahead, given to Anthony Elanga. Trippier goes on the overlap. Elanga's ball inside to Tonali, inviting one for Trippier to deliver across. Joelinton, header just wide from about the penalty spot from Joelinton after another good Newcastle move. The Trippier cross, precise into the middle, and Joelinton, standing in the centre of the box, planted a header on the ball, and it's narrowly wide of the goalkeeper's left-hand post, and he's been hurt again and is going to need treatment this time.
It's a big chance, isn't it? I mean, what penalty spot? Got to hit the target. He hits the target. That's 2-0, isn't it? But it's a big opportunity for him to get himself another goal, and he's put it the wrong side of the post.
The doctor and a physio have gone on to give treatment to Joelinton. Tonali, Elanga, Trippier are with Eddie Howe by the side of the pitch, and the manager's got his arm around Anthony Elanga, explaining something to him. A stretcher has been readied in the corner, but that might just be what they do as a matter of course. There have been 29 minutes of action here in Brussels, BBC Radio Newcastle, and Joelinton's on his feet. He's okay, no need for the stretcher, and the match can resume again shortly. This is Newcastle's first game against Belgian opposition since the Europa League campaign of 2012-13. You'll remember their home and away ties against Club Brugge. Ando, they won at St James's, and then 2-2 away with goals from Shola Amiobi and Vernon Anita. also played the likes of Royal Antwerp. They played Anderlecht. That was back in 1970, the year after they won the Fairs Cup, when they were back in it. Zulte Waregem in the UEFA Cup, Sporting Lokeren in the Intertoto Cup. So they've been in Belgium plenty of times before over the years. And now 142 match European history. 1-0 up through Sandro Tonali's goal, although the big screen graphics have changed it and have given it to Nick Voltemade now.
Yeah.
So you might have been right the first time. And here's a cross from the left from Union Saint-Gilloise. Far side of the penalty area. Gordon's done well to win it back, but then has been dispossessed. And Zorgan finds a teammate, but the pass inside is straight to a black and white shirt. Tonali tries to come away with it and has lost it. And there could be trouble on the edge of the area. Deflected shot from Ait El Hadj. Nick Pope picks it up, rolls it out to Anthony Elanga. The goal initially credited to Tonali, but it deflected in off Voltemade. With that type of precision and sharp analysis, you could be a video assistant referee, couldn't you?
Thanks, Razor.
Well, you saw the tiniest touch or whatever flick it was off Voltemade and called it right away. Main thing is it's 1-0 Newcastle. Tonali's got the ball, gets it from Botman, steps over halfway on the left-hand side. Trippier square across the centre circle, takes a touch up the line to Elanga, 30 yards out. Bruno's available inside. Elanga lifted it over the boot of the defender, but it ran out of room as he went up the touchline, and it's gone for a throw.
Yeah, you need to get him more of the ball. He's getting plenty of space on this right side. Just standing off, that's a dangerous ploy. Just get more of the ball to him.
Trippier's won it back from the throw. Voltemade has shown some good feet initially under pressure. Then Trippier makes a block after it's won back by Camille van der Peer, Union SG midfielder. And now from the throw on the near side, Burgess to Sherpin, the goalkeeper, and it was a ball fired up to the feet of Kelaili, who had to stretch to divert it into the path of a teammate. Managed to complete the pass, but it was one that could have had Newcastle in. Then it's given away by the Belgians, straight to Chow and on to Bruno, and United on the attack again, and Elanga on another one of those runs, goes on the outside into the box. Elanga's cut back, just couldn't reach Voltemade. They get a throw.
Yet again, though, Reza, they're giving him far too much room. Elanga, he's just getting. If you give him that much room and allow him to run at you, he's going to do you all the time. You need to get close. They need to get closer to him and try and stop him.
Trippier. Elanga comes inside, facing his own goal. Goes back to Trippier. Then Chow takes a touch, turns away, back to Nick Pope, who leaves the penalty area. 1-0 Newcastle lead. Bruno drops in deep to get it up to Voltemade. And that's into space where Trippier gets onto the ball, back inside to Voltemade in central midfield. Joelinton has Gordon available up in the attacking half, goes back to Byrne, then Tonali. They've worked it really well, 1 and 2 touch passing. Trippier to Elanga, and there's 4 in the middle. Elanga comes back, gets tackled, and it's disappointing. And after such good build-up, they can't produce a cross, but Trippier and Byrne have got possession again for Newcastle. Good recovery, and Elanga makes a run. Trippier's pass looks for him, edge of the area, volleyed away by Burgess, kept in by Zorgan. Now with McAllister, small for a centre back, Kevin McAllister, only 5'8". His goalkeeper is a foot taller than him. It's brought it up to halfway, then a diagonal ball. Trippier's got eyes on this and gets his head on it. So Union SG header back into their own half of the field. 10 minutes to half time. Interesting back pass from near to halfway. Sherpen, the goalkeeper, goes long. Dan Burn rises, heads it against an opponent. Joe Linton, that's a foul on halfway as he tried to stab it clear. And Joe Linton is shown a yellow card. Union SG 0, Newcastle United 1. Joe Linton in the
He's
book.
saying that's my first foul. Well, actually, no, it's not.
Well, there was one in the corner very early on.
I would be amazed if Joe Linton hadn't made a foul before the 40th minute, 35th minute, whatever it may be. 35 minutes gone, and you're saying you made your first foul. No, Joe, not having that.
The free kick will be taken just next to the halfway line, just ahead of it actually, so slightly into Newcastle United territory. It's on the centre spot now and played left of centre. It goes to 8 El Hadj. Tonali intercept. Bruno, it's gone out. Back to halfway. Botman stabs clear at forward ball. Tonali onto Bruno, holds off his man, finds Voltemada, takes a touch. Gordon sidesteps one. Tonali makes the run. Gordon to Voltemada, pulls it away. Elanga could be played in. Tonali's free to the left. They use Elanga up the right. Tonali back post. Gordon in the middle. It's blocked by the defender and the keeper gets hands on the ball. Newcastle with a couple of appeals for a possible foul, maybe handball. Nothing given.
Yeah, but
they just couldn't quite get that one right.
Yeah, yet again, Elanga, so much room on this right side. They haven't learned a lesson so far. It's a great ball whipped in. Defended as well, actually, to get something on it. But yet again, too much space for Elanga.
Union SG with passes across midfield over to the right wing, looking for Promise David, and Chow got something on that. It ended up in the hands of Pope. It was a good physical battle. It's Newcastle's ball in the 38th minute with a 1-0 advantage. The goal from Voltemada. Tonali shots touching the German on the way in. Halfway line on this near left-hand side, Usainu Niang. He's playing his football in Latvia, and Union SG signed him last year. Back to his defenders up this near side. Newcastle say it went out, the officials say not. Trippier's got it now though, and Bruno up ahead of him. Nutmeg from Bruno, good skill, and Voltemada in the centre. Niang with a trip. And Bruno asks why that's not a yellow card, as his forward run was ended cynically, and Eddie Howe has a conversation with the fourth official as United restart the match quickly with a free kick into the centre of midfield. Tonali and Joe Linton trying to combine, but they've lost it. However, a decision has gone the way of Newcastle United for the challenge on Tonali, and a yellow card is shown to Camille van de Peer, the young Belgian midfielder. Tonali was down in a heap. He's getting back up now, but the home supporters thought they might have been in Ando. Then the referee's whistle.
Yeah, I'm not too sure that would have been a
quick
free.
Stop to that counter-attack.
There's no way in the world that's a foul in the Premier League, Razor. Yes, he goes to the ground, but he wins the ball so cleanly. No stud shown either. But that's the difference between the Premier League and playing in Europe.
From the free kick, Bruno's giving it away. Botman trying to win it back from Rodriguez. I mentioned they've got two big strikers, 6'3" Rodriguez, and Promise David is 6'5". Rodriguez on the near side trying to make life difficult for Trippier. Elanga's done well to get the ball back, and now he's found Bruno inside for Joe Linton. Gordon free to the left. Newcastle over halfway with Gordon. Voltemada sprinting up in the centre. Gordon with two defenders ahead of him, cuts inside. rolls it on to Joelinton, back towards Gordon, but he couldn't take it in his stride, and it's brought away. They have threatened to extend their lead. It's 1-0, and that was another turnover and a quick break, and it just lacked the final ball. But plenty of numbers in the attack. They are not hanging about and getting players up the pitch as quickly as they can. Botman follows Rodriguez into the middle of his own half, and the centre forward lays it off. It's now from Niang onto the chest of David, hoisted up into the air, away by Byrne. Forwards it goes from the home team, straight to Dan Byrne in the left corner. Bruno to Joelinton. First time goes backwards to Tonali, then Bruno. Gordon comes short. They go up to big Voltemada, who brings it back and chips it to Trippier in space. His awareness and vision is so good, and Trippier up the line for Elanga. Again with plenty of room. Trippier goes on the outside. Elanga a step over, comes inside and gets chopped down. It was a heavy touch from Elanga, but the challenge took him down after he'd got away. After the piece of skill.
Penalty, Razor.
And a penalty has been awarded to Newcastle United. The referee pointed, just trying to see whether it was in the box or not. You in the studio, Ando, have the benefit of a replay, and Newcastle United have a penalty kick in the 42nd minute, already with a 1-0 lead here in Brussels, and looking to go 2 up just before half time in the Champions League.
Yeah, nailed on penalty. It's just late. The centre back, yet again, I've been saying it all game, they're just giving Elanga so much space to pick it up and run, and it's causing them all sorts of problems.
Well, Nick Voltemada looks like he wants to take it. Joelinton's got his arm around him. Kieran Trippier did that thing that he has done before, where he picks up the ball, goes to the penalty spot, but it's going to be Anthony Gordon, the penalty kick taker. Callum Wilson, Alexander Isak are no longer at the club. Gordon's taken penalties before, mostly successfully, and their goal scorer against Barcelona can make it 2-2 in the Champions League, but most importantly tonight can double the advantage just before half time. Gordon against Sherpen from 12 yards. Newcastle United's penalty. Anthony Gordon from the right boot, bottom corner, sending the keeper the wrong way. Confidently dispatched by Gordon, and it's Union Saint-Gilloise 0, Newcastle United 2. That's a great penalty.
Yeah, good penalty. Just waiting for the keeper to go, didn't he? Keeper gets drawn. He's just tucked it in the other corner. But yet again, it's Elanga that's causing all the problems, because they're not getting close to him in the first place, letting him run, and with the pace that he's got, just causing them all sorts of problems.
Well, Elanga gets the credit for drawing the foul just inside the box, and Gordon stepped up and put it away against a big goalkeeper. Although you said earlier it's a long way down from 6'8", 6'9". He went the wrong way anyway. And Gordon, after Voltemada credited with the first goal, diverting Tonali's shot into the net, has extended Newcastle's lead, and it's been in many ways the perfect first half in Europe away from home. It's not over yet. Job's not even half done, because we're not quite at the interval, John Anderson, but it's exactly what you would have wanted on a night where you felt they really had to get a result, and it's heading in that direction.
Yeah, you couldn't have asked for better. You know, they got the goal, all of a sudden Union came back into it a little bit, and I'm saying come back into it, had a bit more of the ball without really creating a great deal. But away from home in Europe, it's been a decent performance all round.
They were almost in again, but Voltemada got tackled just next to the centre circle, with Joelinton and Gordon on their way up the left-hand side. Here are Union SG inside the penalty area, just over. Right-footed shot on the half volley from Anwar 8 El Hajj after a low cross in from the touchline. That will be a chance. It's probably about as close as they've come. They've had a couple of shots pretty easily saved by Nick Pope. It missed the target, but good position.
Yeah, should have done better. It's a poor effort. It bounces up nicely for him, just doesn't get over it. He scoops it really, doesn't he? Doesn't get a great deal of power in it. It just lifts over the bar. Nick Pope always had it covered.
I know what you think of a scooped shot, because that's what Bruno Guimaraes does, and it's not your preferred technique in front of goal, is it?
Well, you're not going to trouble goalkeepers, and you're not going to get a great deal of power on the shot if it's scooped, and it's only going to go one way as well, isn't it? And that's up.
Anthony Gordon joins Craig Bellamy, Kieran Dyer, Lomana Lualua, Nobby Solano and Hugo Viana on 2 Champions League goals following his penalty tonight. 2-0 the score. Elanga, who's had considerable influence on the game, back to Byrne. We have played the 45 minutes. First half. We are now into an additional period. And it's with Rodriguez on the far side and Elanga, who has switched flanks with Gordon in his closing minutes of the opening half. He's on the left, has been fouled again. Joelinton gives the ball to Dan Byrne to take the free kick. BBC Radio Newcastle. Trippier up to Gordon, back to Tonali, and now Trippier up the line to Voltemade, who's come out wide right. Gordon's in a central position, gives his man the spin and the slip, and it's Byrne. Elanga wants it tight to the touchline, just ahead of halfway, straight back towards Byrne, slightly away from him, and the big man had to stretch to find Bruno. United have kept possession. Tonali here linking up with Byrne, and now Bruno back to Botman. Nick Pope's available. They go to Joelinton, on to Chow just inside his own penalty area. Trippier on the touchline, and there goes the half-time whistle from the Swiss referee Urs Schneider, bringing to a close a very positive opening 45 on the continent for Newcastle United, whose last Champions League away victory was in February 2003 against Bayer Leverkusen. Well, they looked set, looked well positioned to get 3 points tonight in Belgium. The goal on 17, Tonali shot. He was credited with it initially, but it's gone down as a Nick Voltemade goal. He got a crucial touch on the shot on its way in towards goal, and then Anthony Gordon in the 43rd minute, after Anthony Elanga was fouled from the penalty spot. Gordon sent the keeper the wrong way. John Anderson a healthy and comfortable 2-0 lead after a good first half.
It's been very comfortable.
Newcastle leading by 2-0. Razor will be back for second half commentary in about 10 minutes time. Just a quick one, Ando, on that goal actually, because you and I saw a couple of replays and at first couldn't necessarily decide whether it had just hit Voltemade, whether it hit Burgess, the defender, but I think he's actually
it's a good
deserves
flick.
more credit than it just being counted as a deflection.
He reacts to the shot, and it's a good little flick. And I wasn't too sure whether the last touch came off the defender or not, but it's a decent flick. He's, as we said before, he's got quick feet for such a big man, and he reacts really, really well to it. It's a good goal.
It's a very good goal.
It's a very well taken goal.
And his hold-up play is very good. That's not news from tonight, but there's just examples of it time and again.
I think it's, from a physical aspect, it's a little bit of a mismatch between them. They can't handle our physicality, and they can't handle the pace. It's obviously a way that they defend. I mean, goalkeeper doesn't help either, because he's 7'8", and he's afraid of his life to catch a ball. He wants to punch everything, which is putting this defence under all sorts of pressure. They obviously stand off people an awful lot in this Belgian league, and are prepared to give them space. Now, if you stand off Elanga and give him the room and the space that they're giving him, he's going to cause you all sorts of problems. That's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
The penalty comes about. There's no need for the boy to make the challenge. You know, he just lunges at him, and it's a nail-on penalty kick. But it's been comfortable. You know, they've had a couple of little moments, but nothing really where you've gone, ooh, we could be in for a battle here.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been, they haven't been great. You know, just seeing the goal again, and it is a great reaction. You know, the keeper's already on his way down, but he just reacts to it. You know, if he doesn't get anything on it, it's a comfortable save for the keeper. That's brilliant.
And it comes from a smart free kick taken quickly by Bruno in the middle of the USG half as well. Are we one more goal away from Newcastle being very comfortable, making some changes and just seeing the game through?
I think they're comfortable now. I really do.
Yeah.
I just don't see any way in the world. On the evidence of what we've seen in that opening 45 minutes, Colin, how they're going to get back into it.
We will see, and I hope that doesn't come back to bite you. John Anderson, will come back to you for the start of the second half. Newcastle United leading by 2-0 in the 5:45 kickoff tonight. There only is one other game that kicked off at the same time. It's Karabag who lead Copenhagen by 1-0. Abdullah Zubir after 28 minutes. Some crackers though to come at 8 o'clock. Arsenal are at home to Olympiacos. Manchester City are away to Monaco, but also games like Barcelona PSG, Borussia Dortmund, Athletic Bilbao, Napoli, Sporting Lisbon, Villarreal, Juventus as well. It's a night where a lot of the big guns are playing against each other, but all of those games, like I say, apart from Newcastle and apart from that other Karabag Copenhagen game kicking off at 8 o'clock tonight. A few games in the Championship as well, and we'll come back to the National League because Gateshead played last night, but Carlisle and Hartlepool face each other at 7:45 tonight. But we're going to turn our attentions to rugby union now because Newcastle Red Bulls this afternoon surprised a lot of people. They announced a raft of off-field changes. Steve Diamond has gone as director of rugby, having seen them through a very turbulent period in their history as Newcastle Falcons, without being directly replaced as well. It's nobody that's come in has the title director of rugby. There's a new sporting general manager. There's a new head coach, albeit it's just a promotion internally. And there's a new academy and pathways director as well. But that, if you've been a Falcons fan for a long time, will be a familiar name to you as well. And all of this happening between their first 2 Prem games of the season. The timeline is strange. It's been strange, this whole Newcastle Red Bulls takeover that I think everybody, from their perspective, wanted done before the start of the season. They just couldn't quite. Anyway, a man who knows a lot more about it than I do is our rugby union commentator, Dean Gray.
I interviewed him yesterday, and if he had a clue that this was going to happen, I would be absolutely amazed. We were talking about the team, we were talking about the Red Roses. I spoke to him for probably 10 minutes, and he's either the best actor in the world ever, or he didn't know. And I'm leaning towards the latter rather than the former. So, I'm really quite stunned. This early in the season, when he's assembled the squad, it just baffles me as to why. I can see he's changed the management structure and brought in a sort of director of rugby operations and a sort of general manager as well. But, it's a lot to digest. This hasn't been something that's been done as a knee-jerk reaction. I imagine there are too many people involved in the setup, so this has been planned as part of their Red Bulls a longer-term planning strategy that they wanted these people on board. I'm puzzled as to why Steve Diamond wasn't given more of an opportunity, but I guess the club, under the new ownership, they wanted to make a clean break of things and start afresh to a degree. We expected there to be some changes, and Steve Diamond sort of hinted before that some of the changes that might be happening going forward in some of the coaching staff. But he's always sang the coaching staff's praises as well. So it's Red Bull stamping what they want to have. And Steve Diamond, he is a character. I think he's larger than life at times. He carried a bit of baggage from brushes with authority, but hugely popular with the fans and I think with the players as well, who had a lot of time for him and bought into what he was trying to do with the club with very limited resources. The fact he won 2 games last season, I think in some respects, is remarkable with what he had to work with. And it is a huge shock. But I guess, as I said, Red Bull are looking at stamping their own particular mark on the direction of travel that they want Newcastle Red Bulls to have going forward.
Well, speaking of direction of travel, the big question that we had for Dean then was whether these changes, this raft of changes, will ultimately bring success.
These people they brought on board are pretty high-profile people. There's no doubt about that. They've got a management structure now. They've got a rugby operations sort of director, sporting general manager in Neil McElroy. His pedigree is pretty impressive. Sporting director at Catalans Dragons and general manager at ASM Clermont. Alan Dickens is stepping up to be head coach. We know about that. Alan Dickens been around the Falcons for a season or so now. Previously, I think, with Leicester. John Fletcher we know about. Former director of rugby, of course, at Newcastle Falcons, now with the SRU, and previously with England under 18. So he knows his way around the Falcons, former Falcons player as well. So the academy side and the talent that's going to come through, they've appointed somebody they feel will really push that forward. And I suppose the biggest role is Johnny Petrie, in some respects, coming in as managing director, who's going to do an awful lot of the off-field stuff. And he's the CEO, Chief Executive Officer previously with Ulster Rugby and Edinburgh Rugby. And I suspect from that you might know Steve Diamond as well from his time up at Edinburgh. So that's an interesting one. So it's a sort of bigger management team with an overarching structure both on and off the field that they've brought in. I'm not surprised they didn't in some respects. I'm surprised Steve Diamond's gone, and I'm just really surprised at the timing, bearing in mind that Steve Diamond's not been at the club very long in the first place. He inherited it with a set of players that were, many of whom were looking at moving on, the best players, and that's what's happened. And he's brought in the new recruits since the Red Bulls deal was struck. They've been largely his recommendations that have come on board, and they've largely come because many of them have worked with Steve Diamond in the past. So that's why I'm surprised that this has happened in terms of the timing. We're 2 games into the season. There's 1 game won in the at home, first game of the season against Harlequins in the Premier Rugby Cup, as it's now called, and a little bit of a battering against a very strong Saracen side on Friday gone. But really, really early in the season to be making such a big change. So, yeah, I am very surprised, a little disappointed as well, but we'll have to see how this pans out.
Indeed, that is the big question. Dean Gray there, our rugby union commentator. Since we spoke to Dean as well, also confirmation that the Scotland head coach Gregor Townsend is set to advise Newcastle on strategy and philosophy after taking on a part-time role with Red Bull. The official wording is that he will spend 30 days a year working on Red Bull's global rugby strategy. Excuse me, the pertinent point being that they've only got 1 rugby club in their stable at the moment. So he is effectively going to be advising Newcastle as well, but he will stay on, of course, as the Scotland head coach. Signed a new contract last month to take him through to the World Cup in 2027. Back to football then briefly before we go back to Brussels. Gateshead last night won their 2nd game in a row. And that was after they'd previously gone 7 without a win. They scored 4 times in the first 12 minutes last night to eventually beat the National League's bottom side Morecambe 5-2. There were doubles for Harry Chapman and Connor Pani, but here is their happy captain, Kenton Richards.
Yeah, really pleasing. I think the attitude and application is probably the major thing to come out of it, the relentless nature. Obviously, when you go 2-0 up away from home, the tendency is to kind of sit off, to be fair, like we did at Braintree. But the lads were relentless with the pressing and the intent to get forward and go and score goals, and going 4-0 up, it was testament to that, and it just shows that. Obviously disappointed with the 2 goals we conceded, but overall to come away from home, it's really pleasing. They're a side that's at the start of their journey, I feel. They've got good individual players, they play some good football, but they've had a lot of high scoring games and we know that, so it was just a case of knowing we can get chances and putting them away and being relentless. Some of the football was really good, and you see the quality we've got in the forward areas. Obviously the recent weeks I feel like we've tightened up defensively. We've got a good defensive structure, a good base to press from, and we've been working hard on that in training. I think that's kind of coming to fruition at the minute, but yeah, you can see the top end of the pitch. We've got some frightening quality, and on the break we look really dangerous. It's momentum. Anyone can beat anyone in this league. You see how tight it is, and you're only a couple of wins off the playoffs, so we have to keep pushing for that. We have to keep putting runs together, and hopefully this is the start of another good run.
The Gateshead captain there, Kenton Richardson, after their 5-2 victory over Morecambe last night. Newcastle United already leading by 2-0 away at Union Saint-Gilloise in the Champions League this evening. Let's get full second half commentary then. From Brussels and from this studio, John Anderson is next to me. Matthew Raisbeck is in the Lotto Arena.
Total Sport Northeast.
The Champions League. Matthew Raisbeck and John Anderson.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Thank you, Colin. Perfect timing. United 2-0 up, second half about to begin here in Belgium, having lost their opening match to Barcelona at St James's Park. As it stands in the live league table ahead of tonight's matches, which will kick off at 8 o'clock, Newcastle are up to 13th out of 36 teams, currently ahead of Liverpool and Chelsea, who both have a win and a defeat so far. That's how it stands for Newcastle. Obviously the goal difference by having 2 so far helps with that, but they want to look up the table and progress to the next stage, and this is a crucial match towards that. 2-0 at half-time. Change has been made by the hosts. Newcastle are unchanged for the second half, and it's Pope, Trippier, Chow, Botman, Byrne, midfielder Bruno, Tonali, Joelinton, Elanga on the right, Gordon on the left, Voltemada up front, and it's black and white stripes, white shorts and white socks. The Union Saint-Gilloise change is in attack. Their team is Kjell Scherpen, the goalkeeper. The central defenders Kevin McAllister, Christian Burgess, Bede Lezen. Across the middle, Anan Kalaili, Adam Zorgan, Camille van der Peer and Usainu Niang. Newcastle have won it in a good position. Bruno tries to get Elanga in. The through ball is blocked. Voltemada for Joelinton. Elanga with a chance for the third goal, spilled by the keeper, and no one in black and white there to get the rebound, and it's cleared out for a throw near to halfway. Big chance, John Anderson, in the opening minutes of the second half.
Yeah, and again, not great goalkeeping, was it? You know, you expect your goalkeeper to hit that, to hold on to that. It's a tight angle, Elanga, but they moved it well yet again, and it looks like it's going to be more of the same in this second half, Razor.
Union Saint-Gilloise have Anwar 8 El Hadj playing behind Kevin Rodriguez, and the player who's come on is Marc Giger, 21-year-old Swiss forward. Scored his first goal for the club on Saturday in a 2-0 victory over Westerlo in the Belgian league. He has come on for the Canadian international Promise David. So that's the change. But no change in the way the match is going. Gordon for Voltemada just inside the box. Voltemada square. Elanga blocked, but there's a foul. And it's Voltemada just being a bit too physical with the defender as he set it up for Elanga. Free kick's already been taken up towards halfway. Tonali with a trip. And another Union SG free kick awarded by the referee. Newcastle get bodies back. And the ball is in play again. It's intercepted by Byrne. Gordon drops his shoulder, lets it run on the outside. Tried to cut back in. It's diverted back towards the defender Burgess. Forwards to Giger, the substitute. In behind Byrne. Oh, this is trouble. They've got a one-on-one here, and Nick Pope didn't get a touch. It's curled wide of the post. Anan Kalaili opened up his body, left-footed from the right-hand side, in behind Byrne, bearing down on goal from the angle, but couldn't get his shot to bend back inside of the post. It's a goal kick.
Big chance, huge chance. Gets in behind Byrne, gets away from him, gets across him, and he just hits the shot straight, doesn't he? Doesn't get any bend on it at all. That's their biggest opportunity of the night.
It remains 2-0 to Newcastle United. As darkness descends in Brussels, the home fans with their blue and yellow flags on the far side, and the beat of the drum still making plenty of noise, but Newcastle United on the hunt for goal number 3. Elanga to Trippier, it's blocked. They want a corner, but it's a goal kick. Trippier unhappy with the decision. There shooting towards the left. It's on the far side, diagonally across from the commentary position. Difficult to see who got the final touch, but it goes against United. Chow challenges Rodriguez, who shows good feet to hold him off and turn away into space and play it back to McAllister. You're about to say, Ando?
Yeah, just seeing the Elanga chance again. Keeper just pushes it away, just sort of scoops it away instead of grabbing it into his body. So you'd say that was a chance, but
good move up this right-hand side. Kalili again, the player who just had the shot wide, runs to the edge of the box, chips it across to the far side. Niang on the outside. Niang straight at Pope. Hit the goalkeeper on the chest. It isn't fully clear. Then Bruno makes a block and Pope gets down to save pretty comfortably in the end from Adam Zorgan. It was well struck, but it was in a central position and Pope got plenty behind it to keep it out.
yeah, you see, that's good goalkeeping. He doesn't try and push it away, just gets his body behind it, wraps his arms around it. Comfortable save in the end.
Voltemada holding it up, helping it on to Elanga, who was fouled. And the yellow card shown by the referee, I think it was Zorgan, for the trip on Elanga, who started to get into his stride. His extreme pace is so effective. It was for Burgess, the defender, who'd come up to halfway and then stopped the run of Elanga. Newcastle play it up to Voltemada, holds off Burgess, takes it under control tightly, gets it back from Elanga, then rolls one up to Bruno, tackled at the edge of the area, and Elanga into a challenge with Lazen. Union SG throw. And from the throw they put it straight out of play. It's United's ball. Again, they've had a couple of moments, the home team, haven't they, Ando, at the start of the second half, but so have Newcastle.
Yeah, it's been end-to-end at the start of the second half. Both sides have had chances. Unfortunately, neither. Unfortunately, from our point of view, they haven't been able to take theirs, but had a couple at the other end that we should have really took advantage of.
Bruno is down at the moment, and the physio comes sprinting on. Joe Linton comes over to Eddie Howe on the near touchline. Don't know what the nature of the problem is, but their throw, which is in the middle of the attacking half, will have to wait while Bruno gets treatment, and Joe Willock and Lewis Smiley are sent to warm up. Union Saint-Gilloise 0, Newcastle United 2. Voltemada flicking in Tonali's shot in the 17th minute, and Gordon with a penalty on 43 after Elanga was fouled. And we're into the 53rd minute. Bruno receiving treatment, now being helped up to his feet. It was a good start to their campaign for the Belgians with the win over PSV. They've got some tough matches to come. They've got Inter Milan at home next, then they go to Atletico Madrid, and then away to Galatasaray. They host Marseille, go to Bayern Munich, and then have got Atalanta here. That is a really tough set of fixtures, isn't it? We talked about this being a big night for Newcastle. It's huge for them given what they have ahead, but it's a long way back this evening to get into this game with Newcastle in that 2-0 lead.
Yeah, look, 2-0, you still think it's a long way back for Union. You know, the way the second half is starting, you just feel there's more goals in it.
United throw. It's now out for Union SG. Throw. Bruno's back on. Header into midfield. And whipped over to the near side. Good pace and strong running from Kalili up to Rodriguez. Botman comes out to the near touchline with him. Laid off inside to Kalili. Zorgan, who's a big lad, the Algerian central midfielder. It's a poor touch from him, chipped forwards by Van der Peer. Dan Burn lets it run behind. Nick Pope called into action with a couple of stops in the second half. Did make a couple of saves in the first half as well.
Yeah, he hasn't had a great
I think the one off his chest, Ando, from Niang near side, was probably the most important, because that's one that could go anywhere. He just stayed big and made the block.
Yeah, we've seen him do that so many times, where he just stands up, makes himself so big, and the ball just bounces off his chest. But it was straight at him. He just stood big and tall. That's at the end of the day, that's what he's there to do as well, isn't it? And they've given it away again.
Some tidy passing from Newcastle in a tight area on the left in their own half. Byrne, Tonali, Joelinton involved. Joelinton now to Trippier. There's space on the far side, Newcastle's right, and it's at the feet of Anthony Elanga. Back to Trippier just ahead of halfway. Goes for the nutmeg. Doesn't reach Joelinton, and the yellow and blue shirts have it back, but then Malik Chow slides in to regain possession. And Trippier to Bruno. Baltimore wants it, helps it on first time. Elanga can't get there. Back by Union SG to the goalkeeper. 10 minutes played in the second half. On the near right touchline, Kalaili. And then Giger lets it run. Got away from Byrne, but not Botman. Out for a throw. Eddie Howe's got Lewis Miley with him. They're having a long conversation. Miley still warming up with his gold bib over his black and red tracksuit jacket. He might well be coming on shortly. 2-0 up through Baltimore and Gordon. Without the ball at the moment, it's with Burgess at the back.
Yeah, you would think if Miley's coming on, Razor, it would be for Joelinton, who's come off in the last couple of games. You just wonder whether he's still carrying a knock.
Byrne and Botman combine to win it back on the near side. Joelinton into Tonali. Gordon making a run, and they find the feet of Anthony Gordon, taking on two defenders. Goes on the outside and gets poleaxed. He's down from McAllister's challenge, and he's booked for that. Made no attempt to play the ball.
No, none whatsoever.
Took Gordon down. Yeah. Free kick on the left in line with the penalty box.
Yeah, he can have no complaints about that at all. He knew Gordon had got away from him, so he just rugby tackles him basically.
Sandro Tonali, right-footed delivery from the left. Byrne makes his way into the middle of the box. Baltimore around the back, along with Chow. There are 6 black and white shirts in there. 2 have stayed back because Union SG have left Niang forwards near to the centre circle. Tonali with a 2-man wall in the 58th minute. Told to wait by the referee, who's not ready. Wants to speak to Dan Byrne. And we'll be keeping a close eye on Byrne as this ball comes in from Sandro Tonali. Here it is. Chip to the back post, caught by the keeper.
He's finally caught one. Decided not to punch. And then he gives it away.
It's a throw for Union Saint-Gilloise, but they wanted to take it. The referee said wait, because Newcastle are making that change that we talked about a second ago. Lewis Miley coming on for Joelinton. I'm sitting at the back of the main stand, which is a home section, and there are about 50 Newcastle fans on their feet. They've risen to applaud Joelinton off. I don't think they really celebrated the goals in the first half, but they've decided now, probably with a comfortable 2-0 lead, that they can reveal themselves, show their faces, and we can see black and white stripes, and some of them in the blue and orange away kit. And it always happens, doesn't it? Visiting fans finding their way into home areas. They've made the change for Miley on for Joelinton, playing on the left of the midfield three, just before the hour mark. And United have the ball, Tenali winning it, looking for Bruno. Tenali from Bruno's pass, fouled, and it's the substitute, Giga. And he's the latest player to be cautioned by referee Urs Schneider.
He obviously needs to get his tally up in this second half, Rays. I didn't get enough of them in the first.
The fourth Union SG name in the book. Joelinton now substituted, the only Newcastle player cautioned. Malik Chow inside to Sven Botman. Gordon has loads of room once it played out to the left wing. McAllister's on a yellow card, remember, for that foul a few minutes ago. Newcastle have gone to the right wing to Trippier, back to Botman. Gordon backpedaling into space. Now it's floated over by Botman to Anthony Gordon, down on his chest, up and away from one, and then gets away from McAllister again. He's got to be careful. Gordon in the centre, maybe caught late by Van der Peer, nothing given, play on. Botman, and then Trippier up the line for Elanga. Is he going to run at his man? Comes inside to Bruno, carries on his run. Voltemada, 35 yards out, brings it back towards halfway to Byrne, onto Miley, could go to Gordon, does, 20 yards out on the left wing. Gordon, it's a good cross towards the back post. Voltemada's there, and so is Bruno. They appeal for handball, nothing's given, play continues, and Union SG still haven't cleared it. Now it's sent from left to right. Kalaili in behind, straight through to Pope. I don't know if there was an infringement there, Ando. Nick Voltemada still appealing, still tapping his left hand off his right arm, saying that there should have been handball. There is VAR, and the referee's blown his whistle, and I don't know if he's going to be sent to the monitor, or maybe VAR are just telling him to wait. He's made the VAR signal. Newcastle might be about to get another penalty. Urs Schneider saying VAR, potential penalty check. The VAR is another Swiss official. Fadai San is on VAR duty. And after a penalty for a foul on Anthony Elanga in the first half, there is a check for another for handball. Voltemada and Bruno were adamant. I haven't seen it again, John Anderson.
No, we haven't seen it again either, Razor. It just happened in...
I think there's going to be a substitution from the home team in a moment.
I tell you what, it does hit his arm, but is his arm in? That'll be given. In Europe, that'll be given.
Referee makes the VAR signal and then points to the penalty spot for the second time tonight in favour of Newcastle United. VAR penalty review. There were a couple of those against Arsenal in the Premier League on Sunday. One went their way, the other didn't.
It just shows the difference in the rules, though, doesn't it, in Europe and in the Premier League? You'd think they'd be all on the same hymn sheet, wouldn't you?
The interpretation of the handball law. They had this in Paris 2 years ago with Tino Livramento. When it hit one part of his body, went onto his arm, and it gave PSG the opportunity, which they took, to equalise in additional time. Very, very late. Here, they're already 2-0 up. Anthony Gordon scored one spot kick. He could double his tally personally on the night.
Well, the point he gave the first penalty away with his tackle on Elanga, and he's given the second one away with the handball.
Away to our left-hand side, Anthony Gordon prepares to strike the ball from 12 yards out against Kjell Scherpen again. The referee's whistle. has been blown, and Anthony Gordon scores for the second time tonight, goes into the same corner, the bottom right. This time Sherpen went the correct way, but he couldn't get near it. It's Royal Union Saint-Gilloise 0, Newcastle United 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as I said, it's a long way down for that 6'9" goalkeeper. He went the right way, but he's never getting anywhere near it, and it's, if the game wasn't over at 2-0, it's most definitely over at 3-0.
A message on the digital screens inside Lotto Park Stadium says that Fede Lezen, the number 48 for Union SG, touched the ball with his right arm, which was not in a natural position. That is the explanation from the UEFA VAR official tonight. 3-0 up away from home in the Champions League. It's an unusual position, but a great one to be in, and the Geordies abroad at the other end are celebrating what could be a famous night in the Champions League for their team, and they just look really hungry and looking for more goals. Tonali trying to get on this one edge of the area from a chipped pass. It got away from him, started to move inside, and it favoured the defender Burgess, who headed clear. But 3-0, you would fancy them, John Anderson, to go and score more goals, wouldn't you, on the evidence of the opening, I say opening, the 65 minutes we've played so far?
Well, I said at the start of the second half, Rays, I expected more goals in this. You know, I think they've been so naive the way that they've defended. They've given 2 silly penalties away. You know, as I say, if it wasn't over at 2-0, it's most definitely over at 3-0. But you're right, what you say, you feel there's more goals in this for them, and goals could be very, very important as well.
Well, Manchester City got through to the playoff round on goal difference last season. Newcastle, who lost by 1 to Barcelona, lead by 3 tonight on BBC Radio Newcastle in Brussels. Substitutions made by Union SG. Their manager is a name that you may well know, Sebastian Pocagnoli, who is a Belgian former player. He was a defender that played for West Brom and Brighton, and played for Brighton against Newcastle in the Championship in 2017. In that match, you remember that one at the Amex Stadium where they scored 2 late goals, including that really scruffy one that went in off Motiame, didn't it?
Yeah, it was that cracker, wasn't it? He scored a cracker, didn't he?
They've made 2 changes, details of those in just a second. Newcastle with only 1 substitution so far, Lewis Miley on for Joe Linton. But a 3-0 lead, and it may well be that Eddie Howe goes to the bench and introduces a few more players in the final part of the match, with his team in a very, very comfortable and commanding lead. Miley slips as he receives it in the centre circle, and a crossing opportunity from the right from Kalaili, flicked away by Trippier. It was an important defensive header. There's a player behind him, up to Baltamada now, who has lost control of the ball, and Burgess up to the left wing. They brought on Mathias Rasmussen, a Norwegian midfielder who started their league match at the weekend. He's come on for Camille van der Peer. It's a straight swap that's been made in central midfield, and the other substitution is a nice touch, isn't it? And Ross Sykes, the Newcastle United fan, despite being from Burnley, his Champions League debut personally, he didn't play in their first match. He's come on as one of their 3 central defenders, and a great moment for him.
Yeah, night for him to remember, playing against the team he supports.
on the ball now, inside to Burgess. So the two English players in possession of the ball, exchanging passes. And here it is with Kalili on the right-hand side. Back to Sykes, who's a big boy, 6'5". He was actually let go by Burnley when he was a teenager because they thought he was too small, would you believe? And then he had a growth spurt, a significant one.
I was going to say, it must have been some growth spurt.
Now stands at 6'5". And on the diagonal with the pass to Niang. That's a good ball, helped on. And 8 El Hadj goes for the top corner, but it's too high. Goal kick. Nick Pope put his hand up, didn't get a touch. Lewis Hall and William Osula are ready to come on, as is Harvey Barnes.
He's done the same again. He scoops it, look, he scoops it. Doesn't get his foot through it, he scoops it up in the air. Same as he did with the one in the first half. Never troubling Pope.
You'd have that type of shot done away with, wouldn't you? It just generates no power.
It's never going to. No, it doesn't generate any power at all.
Botman into an aerial challenge on halfway and ends up in a heap on the floor. Whistle's gone. Triple change about to be made by Eddie Howe. Union Saint-Gilloise 0, Newcastle United 3. Gordon, he'll be wanting to stay on to get his hat-trick. Be looking possibly nervously at the touchline because Harvey Barnes is there.
Baldermade will come off because you'd be resting him. Who else did you say has got stripped?
Hall and Osula.
Dan Bourne will come off, only.
Botman's back up and the free kick's been taken following that challenge on him. Chow inside to Bruno, the space in midfield and players up ahead on the right hand side, but they switched it to Gordon on this near touchline and Union SG have won it back. Next time it goes out we would expect the changes to be made. Byrne has intercepted and then played a back pass from the touchline. Pope leaves the penalty area, gives it to Botman and now Tanali. Back to Botman. Just having a look at the Newcastle United history, Ando. On this day 23 years ago, 1st of October, you were in Turin to play Juventus. 2-0 defeat. Alessandro Del Piero with goals.
He could play a bit.
And that was the third of 3 defeats in the group stage that season, which then led to an incredible turnaround, and Newcastle under Sir Bobby Robson became the first club ever to go through to the next round, which was a second group stage then. After losing their first 3 matches, they won the next 3. It was history making.
Craig Bellamy that night in Feyenoord when he got that late winner.
Right, here are the substitutions tonight. 3-0 up in Belgium. Baltamada off, Ilanga off, Barnes and Osula on, and Hall is coming on, and Bruno is leaving the pitch. And that would suggest they're going to go to a back 5 with 2 players in central midfield. And Union SG make a change. Off comes Kevin Rodriguez, and on comes a player that you may remember from Southampton in the Premier League, the Moroccan international forward Sofiane Boufal, who has played against Newcastle in the red and white of Southampton in the Premier League previously in his career. So the changes then, and that's how it looks. Pope, Trippier, Chow, Botman, Byrne, Hall, Miley and Tanali in the middle, Barnes on the right. Gordon stayed on, so could still get his hat-trick. He's on the left, and Osula leading the attack. Barnes in possession. Gets tackled. It's gone out for a throw for Kieran Trippier to take, which is behind halfway, but he's sent it forwards for Osula. Out again for another Newcastle United throw. Challenge on Tonali's a fair one. He stayed down though. Union SG able to play on with 4 in this attack, and Nick Pope, comfortable save, centre of the goal. Said that a few times tonight. Mark Giger with the shot. Tonali still not back onto his feet. Referee's gone to assess the situation and see whether he requires treatment.
Yeah, nearly. Ball just bounced up. Yeah, he seems to be all right. Back on his feet.
It is 3-0 in Brussels with 15 minutes to play, and Harvey Barnes lets it run for Osula, making his Champions League debut, finds Gordon, Hall's played in, Lewis Hall in behind, Barnes in the middle, Hall edge of the area, went on the outside and the challenge came in. Dan Byrne to Lewis Miley on halfway as Newcastle keep possession, but they got into another great attacking position. Tonali, who is all right and able to continue on the ball on the right hand side, plays a lovely 1-2 with Barnes, cuts it back. Gordon was slightly on his heels, ball didn't reach him anyway, and he acknowledges the intention and the attempted pick out from Barnes. As they try to create goal number 4. Dan Byrne up the line to Lewis Hall. 3 centre backs and wing backs now. Hall into Gordon. Back to Chow and then Trippier over on the far side of the pitch. Still the yellow and blue Union SG flags are being flown. Must be where their noisy fans sit, the middle of the upper tier on the far side. They've been at it all night. The team hasn't quite been at it, but Newcastle have been very good, and they're attacking again with Barnes, who drifts in off the right wing, back to Chow, leading by 3 goals to 0. 1 for Baltamada, 2 penalties scored by Anthony Gordon. This is Barnes, found by Trippier. Barnes edge of the area, looking for the shot maybe, gets it back from Gordon, went for the 1-2, last ditch defending, but good defending from Ross Sykes to stick it behind.
Yeah, it was good defending, good little give and goal. That's what he's good at. Big defender, did well.
It's on the right hand side. There is another substitution coming now for Union SG, and Anan Kalaili, who just seemed to hurt himself there and had to be helped up to his feet, is leaving the pitch. Coming on is Luis Patrice, a Belgian right-sided defender. Newcastle corner, outswinger, players in the middle, connect with the ball. Byrne was there, had Botman up as well. Header is off target and it's a goal kick.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest contact in the world. Ball's played into a decent position, penalty spot. Want your big boys going and attacking it, but not a great header. It's been so comfortable, Razor, it really has, you know. 2-0, you felt the game was over at 2-0. The third goal's really killed it off. but it's been a comfortable evening for us.
And they got a grip of things pretty early in the first half, didn't they, Ando? The goal came on 17 minutes, but before then you could see the way they were going about it, the control they had, the positions they were getting into. A goal felt like a matter of time, and then it arrived, and it's been comfortable ever since.
Oh, it's been very comfortable. Yeah, I mean, obviously Union went to PSV and won there, and won well there. On the evidence of this, you can't wait for PSV to come to St James's, can you?
That's a match that's going to be played. That's their penultimate league fixture. It's on the 21st of January. Nick Pope diving save to the right hand side, a shot that needed to be pushed away. The effort came in from Sofiane Boufal, and a corner kick for the hosts. Red chance to send players forwards in an attack in the second half. Important save. Needed to be stopped.
Good save, comfortable save, decent height for him. Just got strong arms to it, pushed it away.
Now Gordon's made a challenge on the edge of the area. Barnes on for Osula, and they've got a runner. It's Lewis Hall up the right wing. Osula could roll in. Barnes, he does. Harvey Barnes with a big opportunity, which he takes, and the substitute extends Newcastle's lead. Harvey Barnes is always good for a goal, and on the break they finish the opportunity. Gordon up to Osula. Good centre forward play, and Barnes with a little chip finish past goalkeeper Sherpen at the near side. In the 81st minute, Union Saint-Gilloise 0, Newcastle United 4.
It's just so easy. I mean, one ball kills Union. Breaks on. Defensively, they're all over the shop. Keeper doesn't cover. Not too sure what the keeper's doing, but just dinks it near corner. Nice to get goals on the board, as I said earlier on, Ray. Goals could be important come the end of this end of the group stages, so you need to get as many as you can.
4-0 in the Champions League away from home. Morale boosting night. Goals had been an issue earlier this season. It's something that we had discussed regularly on Total Sport on BBC Radio Newcastle, and now they've hit 4 tonight after getting 4 in the Cup against Bradford City. Not in either case the strongest opponents, but creating chances and scoring them. Here's Gordon. I think there's going to be another Newcastle change in a moment. I saw a black and white shirt. Players just been sat down. Union with a cross from the right hand side, and it was Luis Patrice into the middle, put behind by Kieran Trippier. Nothing silly at this late stage. Protect the clean sheet and the 4-goal cushion. Every black and white shirt back to defend. It's a dangerous corner. They were trying to drop it inside the far post. Nick Pope came off his line and it went over his head. I'm not sure he was totally in control of that. It might well have dropped inside the post. It went wide, and now with 7.5 minutes remaining, Fabian Schär is coming on for Kieran Trippier in Newcastle's 5th change. Dan Burn gets the captain's armband, which Trippier had been wearing since Bruno had been substituted.
Yeah, good to see Schär back. Will he go the right back? Yeah, probably will.
Malik
Chow's got the right back,
wide. He has played there before, Chow. Schär goes into the middle, so I think they're going to keep the back 5 with Chow, Schär, Botman, Byrne and Hall. Pope with the goal kick. 4-0 Newcastle United. Osula tries to flick on, chases his own touch. Turned away by Patrice. Header from Giga on halfway. Miley produces a ball for Gordon, who gets away from 2 challenges. Good run by Gordon. Still got it across into a dangerous area along the 6-yard line, but nobody in black and whites up there able to get a touch.
Great ball played in, wasn't it?
Far side of the pitch, Miley recovers possession. Chow to share on halfway. Miley up to Barnes. Tonali making a run. Osula ran ahead of the ball. In fairness, I think the pass was played behind him rather than the run being necessarily the wrong one. And it's back with the Belgians with Matthias Rasmussen, middle of the park. Here at Lotto Park, this old stadium. They last started renovations in the 1970s, and it's compact, 21,500, but it's starting to feel its age. The grey concrete facade and facilities that need updating. It's actually a ground that Newcastle have played in before. They were here in the Fairs Cup in 1970, but they also played a friendly here in 1996 under Kevin Keegan, just a few days after they lost the Charity Shield at Wembley to Man United. They came out to Belgium for a pre-season game and played Anderlecht here on both occasions, this being their home ground. Union Saint-Gilloise having to play here, as I'm sure you know by now, because their stadium isn't big enough for UEFA competitions in Europe. 5 minutes to go. Niang, couple of step overs, goes on the outside. Found the space well, but the cross was overhit. Lewis Hall ready to take a throw on the near side of the pitch. Still the yellow and blue Union SG flags are flown. Supporters leaning over the railings on the far side. The flag going from right to left. Newcastle United fans to the right, behind the goal and into the corner on their feet. In celebratory mood. Could be another big black and white night in Brussels, like last night in the city centre. Home supporters increasing the volume levels. Newcastle 4-0 up, twirling the yellow and blue scarves they've brought with them. Some of them are half and half scarves, which are not everybody's cup of tea. The ball is with Union Saint-Gilloise in the final third. Sykes hoists it into the box. Fabian Schär heads it. Lewis Hall's got to be quick. Brings it under control, and it's come inside for Tonali. And here goes the Newcastle break. Barnes to the right. Osula makes space for Tonali. Moves to the left. His pass, though, is behind Barnes. And now defenders get back. But Harvey Barnes continues the attack. Edge of the penalty area. Wide to Tonali. Puts his foot on it. Miley makes a run. Tonali has to come back to Chow. And now Botman in the centre circle. It was the ball from Tonali, Ando, that needed to be ahead of Barnes.
Yeah, it was just behind him, wasn't it? Yeah, just behind him, just killed the move. Break was on again. They just left themselves wide open again, Union.
Dan Burn robs Boufal of possession. Botman to share, they're on the edge of their own box now, Newcastle. 2 minutes of the 90 to play. Still Eddie Howe watching things with Jason Tyndall, locked in conversation. Tonali looking for Barnes, tried to tempt the defender into pinching it, which he did, and it was read by Lazen. It's back with Pope, and now Botman has to use his goalkeeper again. Baltamada, 2 penalties for Gordon and Barnes after he was introduced from the bench. Newcastle United's 4 goals. Barnes wins it back and is then pulled down, although it's gone against Barnes. Must have been for the initial contact in the challenge. He can't quite believe the referee's given that against him.
Seems a strange one. See that 50-50, they both win, both have foot on the ball. That would never be a free kick that way in the Premier League. Rules are different in Europe, aren't they? Strange one.
Sykes out to Patrice. Botman heads away. Gordon, very tidy play, good skill on the left wing, and turns back inside but gets tackled by Patrice, who is then tackled by Byrne. And black and white shirts now not quite pouring forwards but on their way. Barnes, Malik Chow's made an advanced move up the right side. It's Osula just outside the penalty area, turns well, wants the shot, be desperate to score. Harvey Barnes has got a chance. Tanali takes over. Now back to Chow, corner of the area, deep cross. Lewis Hall down on his chest in the box. Hall threatening to take on his man. 1-2 with Barnes, the cut back. Oh, big save by Sherpen to prevent Tanali making it 5-0.
Oh, they're all over the place defensively. Just letting people run all off them everywhere. Not close enough. Just ball watching. I mean, it's 4, but it just could have been so many more.
Well, they'd like one more in added on time, Newcastle, which we have now entered. There's the deep corner, a flick and then an overhead kick to clear it, collected by Barnes, dragged down. It's out on the far right hand side of the pitch, and the match coming to a close. Union SG 0, Newcastle United 4. Tanali injects some energy into this move, sprints into the middle to receive the ball, then gets it back from Dan Byrne. Now Lewis Hall in the attacking half of the pitch. Space is closed off, goes back to Scher. To his right to Botman. Looks like they've just rejigged things in the back 3 or back 5. Miley inside to Hall but given away. There were 4 minutes shown on the numbers board. Scher blocks a through ball, but it's come back to a yellow and blue shirt. And now Patrice towards the corner on this near right hand side. Boufal infield 10 yards. Zorgan wide to Patrice again, clips in the cross. And it's flicked up off Giga and safely into the grasp of Nick Pope. Underarm throw to Malik Chow. It's been the perfect night away from home on the continent for Newcastle United. Needed a big result and they're going to get one, and a big margin of victory as well in the Champions League. Chow comes in, holds up his man. Barnes, drop of the shoulder and away. It's a strong run from Barnes. It's a great run looking for Osula, but the pass not quite right at the end of it. Quickly forwards. Boufal wants the shot. He's run into Lewis Hall and Lewis Miley. Now with the ball, but then they've lost possession. Giga 10 yards outside the penalty box. Having to defend here in the closing minutes. United 4-0 up. Malik Chow with a header from across, sent in from this near side. Gordon on towards Osula. Back pass from the defender, almost played Osula in. And Niang now on the left wing, running at Chow. Goes for the goal line. Cher makes a block. It's a corner kick. Union SG finishing the match on the attack, although the decision's been changed for goal kick by the looks of things.
Yeah, looked like the ball had already gone out of play. Yeah. Good spot by the linesman on that far side.
One of the identical twins officiating.
At least one of them got it right.
Just looking at the record, this will be a record win in the Champions League for Newcastle, won't it? 4-0. There was the qualifier against Ilyesnikar in 2002 that was 4-0 at home, 5-0 on aggregates. Obviously they hit 4 against PSG last time, but conceded 1 tonight. A clean sheet in Belgium and a big victory, one they definitely needed, both in terms of the Champions League, but just generally with the way things have gone this season. They've got it in a very, very convincing and comfortable way. 2 goals in either half. Voltemada deflecting in Tonali's shot. Gordon with 2 penalties either side of half-time, one for a foul, the other awarded after a VAR review for a handball, and then Barnes played in with a late goal after coming on as a substitute. It's been a fantastic night, a fantastic European away trip and away performance, John Anderson.
Yeah, it's just been so comfortable, you know. Said beforehand, didn't know what to expect from these, wasn't too sure how strong the Belgian league is, but from start to finish, don't think we had too many problems. It was very, very comfortable, never looked in any danger, and it's good to score 4. Of course it is, you know, especially away from home as well, because as I said earlier, come the end of this group competition, goals could count, they could be important, so it was important to get those on the board.
The players now go to the away fans, and brilliant scenes of celebration from the travelling black and whites. This is the only new opponent that they face in Europe this season, Union Saint-Gilloise. They've played everybody else at least once before in various European competitions, but a special one to see them score 4 goals away from home in the Champions League, even though their opponents were clearly not at the level that you would say that some of their other opponents over the next couple of months will be. John Anderson, they still have to go and win win emphatically, which is what they've done.
Yeah, that's all you can do. You've got to go and you've got to beat what's in front of you, and they've done that very, very comfortably tonight. And you're right, what you say, there'll be stiffer tests along the way, of course there will. But after watching these tonight, it makes you wonder what PSV are going to be like at St James's, as I said to you earlier, because these went to Holland and comprehensively beat PSV. So yeah, that could be another night where there could be plenty of goals in it as well, Razor.
Just looking at the current standings, there are matches coming up at 8 o'clock, so it will change again. But a lot of clubs have already played twice. Newcastle are among them, and because of the 4 goals that they've scored, the goal difference is now 3, with 5 for and 2 against in their 2 matches. They have crept into the top 8, so they are in one of the automatic qualification places for the round of 16, which would be very much where they would want to finish. Still a long way to go, still 6 matches remaining, But that just looks nice if you look at the league table as it stands for the next 20 minutes or so. If they finish between 9th and 24th inclusive, then they will go into a playoff round for the right to join the top 8 in the last 16. Still, United's players applaud the fans who may be kept behind, as is often the case in Europe, for half an hour or so before being escorted from the stadium and then led back into the city centre. The Union Saint-Gilloise players are with their fans on the far side, those who are still flying the flag for their team, and they've done so all night. Just been a really satisfying evening away from home. Would you finally pick out a couple of players, Ando, who you felt really impressed or showed some good things? Maybe Gordon putting away 2 penalties after what he went through last season, having one at Everton saved.
Yeah, two good penalties put away from him. Valdemar's flick for the goal, great reaction. Look, it was a very, very comfortable night. Tonali yet again was busy. Defensively weren't really tested, didn't have a great deal to do. There'll be tougher tests along the way, that's for sure. I thought Elanga, especially in that first half, got so much space and so much of the ball. It's one thing getting the space, but it's what you do with it when you get it, and I thought he did it very, very well. He obviously won the first penalty. In the first half he just tore them apart because they just stood off and gave him all the room in the world. But look at it, it's a comfortable win, it's a good win, and it's a confidence boosting win as well. Mind you, we said that about the Bradford game as well, that it was a big confidence boost win for us, but it gets us up and running in this competition, and that's what you need to do.
Anthony Elanga has also won the Player of the Match award. He's just been presented with it pitch side, and you probably couldn't argue with that. Maybe Gordon for his 2 penalties, put them both away well against the giant 6'8", 6'9" goalkeeper. Just a very, very good night all round for Newcastle United. Their first win in this season's Champions League. They only won once 2 years ago against PSG, where they also hit 4. This is their first European away victory in what is 12 years since they beat Metalist Kharkiv in Ukraine in the Europa League. So there was previously only 1 European away win in 11. Well, they've changed that emphatically tonight. Very comfortable, and just a night to remember and a night to enjoy. Nick Voltemada deflecting in Sandro Tonali's shot on 17 minutes. Anthony Gordon with a penalty on 43. That was the lead at half time, 2-0, and then 2 more in the second half. Gordon with another penalty on 64, and Harvey Barnes on 80. Final score in Brussels here on BBC Radio Newcastle. Royal Union Saint-Gilloise 0, Newcastle United 4.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
So apparently some British companies are trialling no shoes policies as a way to improve focus and morale. Not everyone thinks it's a good idea, and David in Langley Park, you've had to put up with something far worse.
We used to have a colleague who used to put his feet up on the desk and cut his toenails.
Oh, David! Ben in Leamington, what do you think about not wearing shoes at work?
Obviously it came on in the car and I said how disgusting it was, and my wife says she does it all the time.
Your wife is a shoes offer in the office?
She is, and I had no idea, otherwise I wouldn't have married her.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Weekdays from 6. Just ask your smart speaker to play BBC Radio Newcastle.
United very much up and running then in the Champions League. That 4-0 win in Brussels against Union SG. Nick Voltemada and Harvey Barnes either side of 2 penalties from Anthony Gordon. We are on air until 8 o'clock. It was an unusual start time, but it is a normal finish time for Total Sport. So you have got time to send us your text messages and your WhatsApp messages if you are quick. 08000 321 333. 08000 321 333 for your WhatsApp messages. 81333 for the texts. Start them all with the letters BBC. They are up and running, Ando, but John Anderson's going to stay here for another 5-10 minutes or so. They are up and running, and given the quality that we've talked about, a relative lack of it from the Belgians, Newcastle, job done, clean sheet, decent improvement on goal difference.
Yeah, look at how many times we've said you can only beat what's put in front of you, and they've done that in a comfortable mode this evening. Didn't have to work too hard. Didn't have to use up a great deal of energy, to be quite honest, Colin. Never ever thought we were in any danger. They were slow, they were pedestrian, they didn't have the physicality we had. And as soon as the first goal went in, you just thought, and the second one went in, at 2-0 the game was over. And then obviously we got 2 more in the second half, could have been more. But it's important to get up and running in the Champions League, but it was a good win, and from a confidence point of view as well, especially after the weekend.
I was going to say,
having battled so hard against Arsenal and then get done at the death, and you can concentrate on looking forward to Forest at the weekend. Plus, he was able to rotate as well.
Yeah,
he was able to take Guimaraes off, Joe Linton off, Big Valdemar came off, so he was able to rest some of those boys in preparation for the weekend. And it was good to see young Hall get some game minutes after his exertions and being tired and missing out against Arsenal because of the tiredness. So lots of pluses to take over.
Anthony Elanga, the one who was awarded the Player of the Match award in the end. Do we sometimes take Sandro Tonali for granted? Because you
just expect him to do all the things he does, don't you?
For 100 minutes as well. Again tonight, still going.
He's just a real player. He does everything well. He defends well. He passes the ball well. He gets into advanced positions. He's just a real player. Elanga probably couldn't believe the amount of space and time he was getting, especially in that first half. They just stood off him so much and gave him. And if you give somebody who's got the pace that he's got, you're just asking for trouble. You're asking for trouble. But he made the best of it. He made, he caused them all sorts of bother. But I agree with you about Tonali.
Yeah.
He's just, I forget about him sometimes because you've got so used to the performances that he puts in. It's his level of performance, game in, game out, is unbelievable. It never seems to waver. It's always on the same level, where you've got others who'll go from being extremely good to not seeing them at all. Yeah. Where Tonali is just on a level all the time. Just
because you had a big conversation with Razor at the end of the game as well about Newcastle, and we've talked about individuals. Just one more on Union SG, because they had nearly 50% possession. They had more shots than Newcastle did. Same number on target. Forced Nick Pope into 2 or 3 saves. Maybe not spectacular saves, but enough saves. And yet lost 4-0 and were never in any.
Never looked like
getting back into the game at all.
No, they didn't.
Why not? Where were they deficient, if you like?
Well, the physicality aspect that I mentioned earlier on, and the pace as well. Everything they did was very precise and very laboured. Gave you time to get players back behind the ball, so you're seeing it all. And I know you're on about the shots, but you look at the shots where those shots have come from. Yeah. They're all 25, 30 yards out. It's not as if they've got in behind you, and they did once when they got in behind Dan Bourne and the boys tried to bend it and he got no bend on it and put it past the far post. But it was all from distance. It was all relative. Yes, they were saves, but they were relatively comfortable saves for Nick Pope.
It's going to be interesting. There's 2 of the games that kick off at 8 o'clock tonight involve 4 teams that Newcastle have either played in Barcelona or will play. So Barcelona take on PSG, and the one that I'm fascinated about is Bayer Leverkusen against PSV, because PSV, as we know, were beaten fairly comfortably by this USG side that Newcastle have dispatched with no issue tonight at all. Very interesting to watch how Leverkusen and PSV match up.
Yeah, I mean, after watching Union tonight, you wouldn't think that PSV are up to much.
No, on the basis of results.
On
no.
the basis of that, but you wonder about Dutch football because Ajax have been battered in both their opening games as well. So you wonder what state that Dutch football is actually in. We asked the question before the ball was kicked: what level is Belgian football in? These are unbeaten in the league this season.
Yeah.
What does that tell you about the rest of the league, to be quite honest?
Yeah. But as we said, we'll end the conversation as we started it. Yeah.
And, to do it in the manner that we've done it, okay, there's 2 penalties in there. The second one, handball, is it in an unnatural position? Well,
he's a little bit unlucky, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, probably. But the rules. The rules in Europe are different to what they are in the Premier League. The first one, no complaints at all. The boy didn't need to make the challenge either because Alanga had knocked the ball away. I'm not too sure he was getting there. There was a defender coming across. So it was very, very naive defending. But look, it was so comfortable. It really, really was. And it could have been more.
Yeah, indeed. John Anderson, thank you very much.
Cheers, Colin. Thank you. Enjoyed that.
And we'll be back on Total Sport on Friday. Steve Howie in for him in his usual Thursday slot tomorrow. I mentioned a couple of the games. I'll tell you the rest of them. Well, actually, the other game that kicked off at 5:45, Karabag beat Copenhagen by 2-0 in the end. But the other 8 o'clock games: Arsenal against Olympiacos, Borussia Dortmund against Athletic Bilbao, Monaco against Manchester City, Napoli take on Sporting Lisbon, Villarreal are at home to Juventus, as well as the 2 games I mentioned earlier: Barcelona, PSG, and Bayer Leverkusen against PSV. Yeah, it's confusing with PSG and PSV and USG that Newcastle took on tonight. A few games in the Championship as well. Portsmouth already 1-0 up on Watford. And in the game that we're keeping an eye on in the National League as well, Carlisle against Hartlepool. Carlisle are already leading in that one too. The other big news from today, the non-football news from today, was Newcastle Red Bulls this afternoon announcing a raft of off-field changes. Steve Diamond, the director of rugby, has gone. Rumours this morning that he'd been sacked. The official wording was that the club that he had left. Either way, he is no longer the director of rugby. No direct replacement for him though, but there is a new sporting general manager, a new head coach, a new academy and pathways director, a man returning to the club after a time away. And all of this happens between their first 2 Prem games of the season as well. Here are the thoughts of our rugby union commentator, Dean Gray.
I interviewed him yesterday, and if he had a clue that this was going to happen, I would be absolutely amazed. We were talking about the team, we were talking about the Red Roses. I spoke to him for probably 10 minutes, and he's either the best actor in the world ever, or he didn't know. And I'm leaning towards the latter rather than the former. So, I'm really quite stunned. This early in the season, when he's assembled the squad, it just baffles me as to why. I can see he's changed the management structure and brought in a sort of director of rugby operations and a sort of general manager as well. But, it's a lot to digest. This hasn't been something that's been done as a knee-jerk reaction. I imagine there are too many people involved in the setup. So this has been planned as part of their Red Bulls a longer-term planning strategy that they wanted these people on board. I'm puzzled as to why Steve Diamond wasn't given more of an opportunity, but I guess the club, under the new ownership, they wanted to make a clean break of things and start afresh to a degree. We expected there to be some changes, and Steve Diamond sort of hinted before that some of the changes that might be happening going forward in some of the coaching staff. But he's always sang the coaching staff's praises as well. So it's Red Bull stamping what they want to have. And Steve Diamond, he is a character. I think he's larger than life at times. He carried a bit of baggage from brushes with authority, but hugely popular with the fans and I think with the players as well, who had a lot of time for him and bought into what he was trying to do with the club with very limited resources. The fact he won 2 games last season, I think in some respects, is remarkable with what he had to work with. And it is a huge shock. But I guess, as I said, Red Bull are looking at stamping their own particular mark on the direction of travel that they want Newcastle Red Bulls to have going forward.
Well, that would indeed seem to be the case. So that's Dean Gray, a rugby union commentator, talking about Steve Diamond in particular. Here are his thoughts on the 3 or 4, but 3 for the moment, new people coming in to Newcastle Red Bulls.
These people they brought on board are pretty high-profile people. There's no doubt about that. They've got a management structure now. They've got a rugby operations sort of director, sporting general manager in Neil McElroy. His pedigree is pretty impressive. Sporting director at Catalans Dragons and general manager at ASM Clermont. Alan Dickens is stepping up to be head coach. We know about that. Alan Dickens being around the Falcons for a season or so now. Previously, I think, with Leicester. John Fletcher we know about. Former director of rugby, of course, at Newcastle Falcons, now with the SRU, and previously with England under 18. So he knows his way around the Falcons, former Falcons player as well. So the academy side and the talent that's going to come through, they've appointed somebody they feel will really push that forward. And I suppose the biggest role is Johnny Petrie, in some respects, coming in as managing director. Who's going to do an awful lot of the off-field stuff. And he's the CEO, Chief Executive Officer previously with Ulster Rugby and Edinburgh Rugby, and I suspect from that you might know Steve Diamond as well from his time up at Edinburgh. So that's an interesting one. So it's a sort of bigger management team with an overarching structure both on and off the field that they've brought in. I'm not surprised they did in some respects. I'm surprised Steve Diamond's gone, and I'm just really surprised at the timing, bearing in mind that Steve Diamond's not been at the club very long in the first place. He inherited it with a set of players that were, many of whom were looking at moving on, the best players, and that's what's happened. And he's brought in the new recruits since the Red Bulls deal was struck. They've been largely his recommendations that have come on board, and they've largely come because many of them have worked with Steve Diamond in the past. So that's why I'm surprised that this has happened in terms of the timing. We're 2 games into the season. There's 1 game won in the at home, first game of the season against Harlequins in the Premier Rugby Cup, as it's now called, and a little bit of a battering against a very strong Saracen side on Friday gone, but really, really early in the season to be making such a big change. So, yeah, I am very surprised, a little disappointed as well, but we'll have to see how this pans out.
It is the evolution of Newcastle Red Bulls. That's Dean Gray there, a rugby union commentator. Since we spoke to Dean as well, actually been confirmed that the Scotland head coach Gregor Townsend is set to advise Newcastle on strategy and philosophy after taking on a part-time role with Red Bull. In theory, what he's doing is spending 30 days a year working on Red Bull's global rugby strategy. But the thing is, they've only got 1 rugby club at the moment, so he is effectively part of that Scottish takeover of Newcastle Red Bull off-field operations. But Newcastle United have been the ones that we have focused on tonight. A very convincing 4-0 victory for them away in Brussels against Union Saint-Gilloise tonight, their first Champions League victory of the season. Total Sport is back at 6 o'clock tomorrow.
Ilanga, space for the cross, it's a good one, but Voltemada just couldn't get there. Tonali, follow up, it's in. Sandro Tonali, it took a big deflection. Ilanga, space for the cross, it's a good one, but Voltemada just couldn't get there. Tonali, follow up, it's in. Sandro Tonali, it took a big deflection. The referee's whistle has been blown, and Anthony Gordon scores for the second time tonight, goes into the same corner, the bottom right. This time Sherpen went the correct way, but he couldn't get near it. It's Union Saint-Gilloise 0, Newcastle United 3. Osula could roll in Barnes, he does. Harvey Barnes with a big opportunity which he takes, and the substitute extends Newcastle's lead. Harvey Barnes is always good for a goal.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
On the BBC Sounds app, on your smart speaker,
Play BBC Radio Newcastle.
and on your radio.
The sound of the North East is BBC Radio Newcastle.
At at 8 with the BBC News. I'm Cameron Ward. The Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, has apologised for what he calls reprehensible behaviour inside his force, which has been exposed by a BBC Panorama investigation. Undercover filming at Charing Cross Police Station in central London reveals evidence of racism, misogyny and officers revelling in violence. Sir Mark, who took over the Met 3 years ago, pledging to restore trust and confidence in the force, says police officers who act in appalling ways will be put on a fast track to dismissal.
The Panorama material is horrific. It shows a corrupt group of officers engaging in misogynistic, racist, bragging about use of force, utterly contemptible behaviour that shows a disrespect for the people of London.
Panorama is on BBC One at 9 tonight and available now on BBC iPlayer. A former NHS gynaecologist's risky practices and shortcuts contributed to women suffering severe physical harm, a report into his care has found. Daniel Hay worked as an obstetrician and gynaecologist at Derby Hospital before retiring in 2020. Karen Reynolds, a partner in the clinical negligence team at Free Solicitors, says the report clearly states there were opportunities to deal with difficulties Mr. Hay was having making decisions about surgery.
There was no proper appraisals, no assessment of how he was doing. Theatre staff were expressing concerns, that wasn't responded to. There was multiple opportunities to stop this and to stop patients being harmed. The
Royal Derby Hospital has apologised to women impacted by the failings. It's been a month since Jaguar Land Rover shut down their sites across the UK after a cyber attack forced the car maker to suspend operations. The government says it's giving a loan worth £1.5 billion to help smaller firms who supply to JLR and protect jobs. Cabinet Minister Pat McFadden says they've supported the manufacturer throughout.
We've been in touch with JLR since day one of the cyber attack, offered help through the National Cyber Security Centre. We've stepped in with the loan guarantee announced the other day to support principally the supply chain, really.
JLR says it expects to resume production in the next few days. The British zoologist and animal rights campaigner Dame Jane Goodall has died in the United States at the age of 91. She spent 60 years studying the social and family interactions of wild chimpanzees and is considered the world's foremost expert on the animals. A 15-year-old cook who aspires to become a well-known head chef has released his debut cookbook. William Waters, otherwise known on Instagram as William the Mini Chef, has already performed at food festivals around the southwest of England. He has a rare heart condition and is donating £1 to Gloucester-based charity Heart Heroes for every copy of his book sold. And 3 English clubs are playing in the Champions League tonight. In an early kick-off, Newcastle beat Belgian side Union Saint-Gilloise 4-0, and Arsenal host Olympiacos Man City away in Monaco. Those have just kicked off. It's 3 minutes past 8.
The sound.
The sound of the North East.